back three for the tie. Oh, he's done it again. They get it to him. More in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. More. Cuts back. Touchdown. All like that. Each one more.
You know what clip you got to add in there sometime if we ever revamp that intro is the was it 2016 against Michigan State? That's like one of Frank's favorite games where Raphael Davis just like went off. I thought that you said that was one of your favorite games when Purdue played Michigan State in basketball.
Have I said that? Because that's accurate. Yeah, I was just.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
How much
you seemed
do you know
offended
your
by
friends
that.
there?
I was like, maybe
Wow.
not. Maybe don't say it. But what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Boiler Express podcast. Football is back. Purdue football is here. We're playing this Saturday. Really excited about it. I know quite a few of us are going to be at the game. Russ will be there. Dylan and I will be there. Chris, are you going to be at that game? No,
Nope,
not going to be able to make it.
Way to have a career and stuff, Chris. Jeez.
Yeah, way to go, guys. But a lot of fun stuff to look forward to this week. We've got a lot to talk about, not just about Purdue football, but, you know, IU just posted this week. They've got some really, really cool outdoor, or not, well, I guess it is outdoor.
It's
but,
outdoor. It's
sweet.
not
What do they
indoor.
call like VIP?
They're called tents. That's what they're called. They call them suites.
High
I call them
class.
tents.
Let's take a look at them. For
ever
anyone
been
who
to
hasn't
Skid Row in
seen,
LA?
let's show them. Put them up on the screen here. So
Look at
It
this.
cracks
Look
me
at
up because this looks like Jeff Hardy's about to climb on top of this and swanton bomb somebody through one of the chairs.
Yeah, that looks like the kind of temporary concert seating you'd serve a beer called Hoosier Brew at.
Like,
there.
look
Yeah.
at that.
God
That
almighty,
doesn't
threw
look
him off
appealing
the top
in
of the
any way,
cage.
shape, or
Yeah.
form. It looks like Home Depot in Bloomington had a sale on lawn furniture, and those cheap people, cheap people were like, "Let's do it."
So for anyone who's listening and not watching and hasn't seen these, they effectively look like cheap wooden like patio furniture, not even wood, like fake wood. But it realistically looks like the VIP tent at a ZZ Top concert at your local county fair.
ZZ Top's even giving a little credit. You got to be like, your local garage band who brought this out. Got founded
Seniors
on
from the high school.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
Rick Springfield, like a one-hit wonder, maybe.
It genuinely is some high school stuff. That's a good way to put it. It's a high school setup. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of high schools with the exact same setup. And to call them suites, you can call them cabanas. You can call them. Just don't call them a suite. Like, how are in what?
Well,
world
we grill into them too much, we used to have that kind of seating. Which what's up, little brother? What did ours look like? I never even went to the South
You mean
End. Was ours
Morgantown?
any cooler? Or was it like worse?
No, ours
better?
was as bad. It was just one big tent. But I will say, ours had televisions and beer and like a bar, and it was cool. It was cooler than that, I will say.
Okay,
But
You could tell that ours was temporary. Like that was a stand-in until we got what we have now. That looks like they're intending for it to be there for a while.
yeah, they're not getting rid of that thing.
And wow.
I'm going to call it Tent City. That's what it's called now.
It also looks like a program that is clamoring to try to up ticket sales when they suffered greatly in that department last year.
Sell them at
And
Costco or
I'll
whatever.
say it. What was it called? Memorial
think they are.
Stadium, the 32nd version of Memorial Stadium in college football. It's not that terrible of a stadium. Like, my first time being there was last year. And listen, I'm not like it's.
did you sit on bird poop?
No, I didn't. But like, I'm not sitting here saying it's Jerry World in Dallas, but it's good for IU, right? Like, it's fine for them. They make it.
Has anyone ever brought up
to give them a little credit? It's very difficult to do.
What's that?
I was saying, has anyone ever brought up too that IU just is not great at naming their arenas, right? Assembly Hall, there's like how many assembly halls that they play
Ass hall.
basketball in? right? Memorial Stadium. How many Memorial Stadiums are there in this country? Like,
Just in the
can't be
Big Ten,
original.
there's
Like,
3 Memorial Stadiums. It was
right.
Illinois, Nebraska, and Indiana.
Well, who had it first though? That's the question.
Illinois changed their name. It's now what, State Farm Arena, I think.
Oh.
Okay.
Was it what do y'all got in Louisville? The KFC Yum Center?
That is
Yeah, it's the
correct. Yes.
basketball.
Well,
That's,
then Ohio
that's the
It is a
L
very nice
and
venue too.
the
Ohio
football
State
stadiums.
has Value City Arena, like a like secondhand furniture store, and they named
Yep.
their arena after
I
it.
bet their suites have better furniture in it than I use.
I would hope. I would
Dude,
hope
watch,
they're better than some laminate wood.
Watch
siding
somebody
chairs.
open up the like Mark's Mattress Firm arena, like in the Indiana. Welcome to Indiana State. We're here at the Mark's Mattress Firm, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but Mark's Mattress Firm is a scam. There's got to be something going on there because nobody ever goes to a Mark's Mattress Firm, but they're everywhere.
IKEA is a scam too.
So-
There, I said it.
I mean, do we want to get into the economics of why there are so many mattress stores? 'Cause I'm happy to talk about that for a second.
Money laundering.
No. I mean,
The
I have-
mattresses.
the subject, and I can talk about that, but I could go on for 20 minutes about it too.
I'm good.
Yeah. But anyway,
We're now
though,
a mattress podcast.
to kind of keep us on track here, we know we talked a little bit about IU's thing that they just added to Memorial
That's a
Stadium.
good way to put it.
But Purdue, something Dylan, I think you shared it in the group chat today. They and I know this might be silly to talk about. I thought it looked pretty cool though. The steps going up to the
Ooh.
student section,
Yeah, they look
which I
awesome.
always walked in from that way. So now I'm gonna have to figure out how else to. Or I'm gonna have to walk farther now to get into the stadium, which
It's a hard
first,
life.
Yeah,
first
what
world
he's referring
problems.
to public service announcement. Only students can now get in around the south end zone. So if you have tickets
Like
before, you
gates
might have
A and
used
B.
that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And none of us look
Um,
young enough, do we? Damn.
What did it say though on the steps? Was it like "Hail Old Purdue" or something like that?
It's
hail,
the fight
hail to
song.
old Purdue. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
literally the fight song.
Well, I know what the fight song is. I just couldn't remember what it said.
We're
I
off
don't-
the rails.
Ooh, got him. You mean that new podcast we haven't done an
Um,
episode yet of?
But before we get any farther into anything, we just had to take a quick jab at Indiana. I want to give a big shout out to our podcast network, Big Banner Sports. They have their own website up now. They've got articles coming. Dylan's got his finger up in the air. What's up, Dylan?
No, I was pointing out Big Banter.
I thought you were like, hey, I got to say
I
something.
was pubbing them a little bit there.
I gotcha. But yeah, they got their own website up. They've got articles coming. You can see every school's podcast on there as well. They've got a lot of good stuff. They've also have just started their new show, the Big Ten Huddle, which they just posted their recent breakdown of how they feel like the Big Ten is going to pan out this year.
Our guy Chris is writing blogs for him.
That we like most of the people that are in the Big Banner Network, except for Spartan Dog 97, who said that Purdue's going to finish 3-9 this year.
Yeah, I've got some things to say about that.
Just
later.
had to throw that out there. But anyway, great group of people. Big Banner's awesome and just growing. They've grown a ton since we've gotten to start working with them just in the last few months. And I feel like with football and basketball season coming up, it's going to be awesome to watch this year. So check out Big Banner for sure. I also want to throw a shout out to our sponsors over at Cincy Blitz Boards or at Blitz Boards on Twitter. They have a great product. Again, we've said it a million times. So a great family game, great game for tailgates, for parties, whatever it is. Super fun game. And it's super customizable too. Like whatever you have in your brain of what you want on a Blitz board, they can do it. And they don't just do Purdue stuff. They've got any team, any logo. I mean, Dylan, they just sent him a mock draft of the Coonsville Pro Painters, his fantasy football team.
Dude, Nick, I think it was last week, Nick was sending me all these mock-ups of different Pro Painter ones. White Trash Pete was in the middle of one, and he made it with one with that dude. Nick was sending me all sorts of good stuff. I was actually going to put mine on the backdrop this week. Forgot to bring it home from my office, so that's
I'm
on
excited
me.
to get mine. I'm
Oh,
excited.
dude, it's I sometimes I'll play it by myself in my office when I'm really bored. I gotta have friends. You all live too far away. Anyway, it's a great time. I did lose one of the little peg hole, the peg thing, so I gotta get a hold of Nick and get another one of those.
You already lost it.
Does that surprise you that I
No,
lose something? I'd
not at
lose
all.
my head if it wasn't attached. I mean,
Not at
gosh,
all.
it took me
I'm,
5 different links to get to this today. What do we?
I'm kind of worried about next week if you having to drive, what is it, like 3-4 hours to Russ's house before we go to Virginia Tech?
I'm gonna ride a horse there is what I'm gonna do. It's Kentucky. It's allowed.
Which also, that's going to suck because you're going to drive like 3-4 hours to Russ's place, and then we're gonna drive 7 hours to Virginia Tech, and then when we come back, it's like, oh, 7-hour drive, man, that was a long road trip. All right, time to get back in the car and drive another 3 or 4 hours.
Russ, he probably drives like 10 under, 15
Yeah,
under.
I'm not looking forward to those travel days.
In his Buick Regal, like what?
Yeah.
It's a
Love you, Russ.
Volvo, okay?
It's a Volvo. Do they even make Volvos anymore? Is that like Saturns?
Yes, trust me, they crash a lot.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, let's get into. So this week, they announced they announced the depth chart, but they also announced that they're going to be, kind of posting a weekly depth chart, kind of like how they do in the NFL, which is pretty cool. They're also going to be they posted our depth chart this week, and there were some surprises on there. One I think of in particular, I thought Steptoe was making a lot of noise in practice this offseason. I thought he made a lot of noise last year, and still not on the depth chart. So that was my whoa, I can't believe that's there. What about you guys? Or not there, I guess.
I mean, I think the two biggest things that stuck out to me were the absence of Gus Hartwig and Garrett Miller.
Mm-hmm.
So we, I don't know what the official word is on them, but it sounds like they're kind of battling through some injuries.
So
yes,
oh,
you got it.
So
Take it.
I think it was Tom Deinhardt came out and said that was part of the plan for their rehab process was that they were going to miss that game. So it was anticipated. So we could easily see him back next week. I don't know if, I don't know, but that's what I remember.
We just got a shout out. So Gus Hartwig, the Big Banner Sports guys, they gave him, what was it, most he got the Riz Award, which is
beard or something.
Yeah, he got the Riz, most Rizzable.
I don't know what Riz is. I don't know what
it's
it means.
short for charisma. Basically, you're good with the ladies.
We're hip and cool with it. We know what's going on. We know the lingo. We got our ears to the streets.
And this dude, not only did he play with 2 broken hands last year, he also played with a bum knee. That's also why he's not back and fully healthy yet. He had a bad knee.
You break one of my hands, I'm done for 3 months.
Gus Hartwig could probably lift. I think I tweeted this. Gus Hartwig could probably lift a building fully healthy. He could probably be like, oh,
with a name like Gus. Listen, you're gritty. You're blue collar.
Gus.
Russ is gone. Rest in peace. Miss you, buddy. Russ. When Russ first got on, it looked like he was being held hostage, and we almost called the cops. It was, oh, there he is. We're good. You all right?
Well, now that
okay. Honestly, his story of playing with 2 broken hands made me not go to work for 2 weeks.
Right.
My
sympathetic.
God.
Yeah.
And then his position too, nonetheless, you kind of need the mitts. It's hard to, it's hard to do without hands. I feel like football in general is hard to play without hands, but.
Right. Well, Russ, now that you're back, I know you were a little bit surprised at the running back position, specifically about the depth chart and what was going on there. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it that Dylan Downing actually broke out before Maccabee did last year. He had his 100-yard game earlier in the season.
Against Florida Atlantic, right?
Yes, and then even going into the Minnesota game where Maccabee ultimately had that 68-yard run and kind of broke out, going into that game, it was thought to be a 1-2 punch with Downing as the 1 and Maccabee as the 2. So for a good portion after Doru got hurt, it looked like Dylan Downing was the next man up. And for him to kind of drop not just behind Maccabee, but also down below Tyrone Tracy, who didn't get a lot of work in the run game last year, supposedly to get more work in the passing game, even though last year's offense didn't involve him more in the passing game. So who knows what that was all about. But yeah, I was a little shocked. But I don't think it's so much of a, when Maccabee's off the field, Tracy's always going to be the next one in the game. I think it's going to dictate the situation is going to dictate who comes in. Downing's going to be more of a pounding runner, a straightforward runner, and Tracy's going to be, kind of bounce it outside, get the ball in space kind of a runner. So I think that their playing time will be much more equal than second and third in the depth chart.
Yeah, I could see Tracy being used for a lot of RPO just because he's got all the experience with catching the ball. So if they do, an option, toss it to him, whatever, he's probably, pretty going to be pretty consistent with catching the ball and keeping it and everything. So, but yeah.
Well, And I thought it was interesting too when they asked Dylan Downey to kind of compare his run style to Devin Mockabee, and it was like straight. I go straight.
Mhm.
Give me the ball, and I'm just going to go straight. Where Maccabee's kind of that shifty back. But another thing that surprised me on the running back position, Devin Maccabee's listed at 200 pounds. I think last season, what was it, 185?
Yeah, he's
So
beefed
if
up.
he has indeed put on 15 pounds, and I know previous coaching regime, they didn't want him to put on a ton more weight. They said that several times. So I'll be curious how much bigger he gets over his career. But man, just imagine if he's got roughly the same speed and level of shiftiness, but can hit a little bit harder. I mean,
he's gonna have a hell of a year. I'm calling it now. Clip
Yeah.
this right
Yeah,
now.
he
He's
is.
gonna go off. He's gonna go bananas, and we're all gonna say we told you so. We're all gonna say, especially this program. This program is
You heard it here
the
first.
biggest Maccabee family, not just Devin, but the entire family fan podcast there is. No one else can take that cake.
The Maccabees might also have the best Purdue tailgate. I know that's kind of a bold statement. There's a lot of good
Can't
tailgates
wait.
out there, but
I can't wait.
Yeah, are we
Uncle-
looking for him Saturday? Are we gonna figure this out?
Yeah, of course.
Let's go.
they
You're
have
done
no
with your
idea
dinner.
either. We have not formally talked to them about this, so they're just going to be like,
No, I told Conrad we're gonna be there.
"Oh, you
Uncle
did? Okay.
Uncle Conrad and I have talked. They're ready. All right.
Okay. All right, then we have
I don't think they are.
And Uncle Craig. Yeah, I don't
He's
think
like,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think-
they're prepared for the monstrosity that is all of us in the same spot, but they'll love us either way.
Well, they get the group pre-Chris, right? So like they'll get the toned down version, and then
Yeah, but I'll still be there. Just But Chris and
So-
I together is like a tornado of something.
Yeah, we need bail money for Virginia Tech because both of us in the same area.
Yeah, we're
It's-
gonna start a GoFundMe in case Chris and I get arrested by the law.
Yeah.
Chris won't because Chris is a man of the law. Me,
No, I probably will. It would be my luck,
Oh,
especially
you're-
when I drop kick a hokey off a car.
well, that could have. Glad you said hokey. All right,
Uh,
right. All right.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about too was Dylan Thieneman, who surprisingly is starting at what was the position? Was it safety?
Well, he's just listed as DB,
DB. Okay,
which I find interesting. Everyone's a DB.
Gotcha. Well, so was he? Whenever he was offered a preferred walk on, or was he a scholarship? Because I for some reason I have in my head that he was a preferred walk on
I think he is a scholarship, but
scholarship.
like screw it, I'm gonna look it up.
But anyway, during the press conference, Walter's first presser of the year, he was saying that Thieneman's like insane, like very athletic, very well built. I think he's like 6 foot, 200 pounds, 205, maybe something like that, and insanely fast, second fastest guy on the team, right next to Deion Burks, which he called Burks a like freak athlete basically, and is really excited for him to go. So I was surprised by that. I was just like, oh, cool, another Thieneman, like, kind of like the Anthrops, we have another Thieneman on the team. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think
It'll be fascinating at the end of the Thieneman saga to reflect back on who the best Thieneman was.
We'll have to have them both on here and vouch for themselves.
Are we gonna say who the best anthrop was?
yeah, we could look back and say how many years, the last 20 years, was there not an Anthrop or a Thieneman on the roster?
Those
Oh wow, interesting trivia.
they all need to
question.
start having kids. All right, let's get it cracking. All right,
Hey.
Jeez.
I think
That'd be a great segment. Who was the best Anthrop?
Hey, I think we know a couple of them. I think we could have them on the show to debate.
Yeah, will that jeopardize some friendships though?
I was gonna say Thanksgiving may not go so well.
yeah.
But yeah, to see Deion Burks, at that kind of wide receiver 1 position was pretty impressive to me. I mean, he was a guy that we really saw kind of escalate his abilities and his role throughout the season last season. So I'm not shocked to see him in that wide receiver 1 spot. What I am shocked is to see him starting ahead of Mershawn Rice. I figured those two would kind of be the 1-2. But at wide receiver 2, we have Abdur-Rahman Yassin, who's a guy that we've seen, kind of grow
very
and
exciting.
show signs of flashiness as well. So to have a 1-2-3, Deion Burks, Abdur-Rahman Yassin, and TJ Sheffield, I mean, is an elite receiving core right there. And then to back that up with Mershawn Rice and Elijah Canyon, who I think he only played one game last season, but looked really good.
He's
against
6'4". I'm just for that reason alone, I'm excited to see what he can do because I remember the game that he did play. He had a crazy catch where he jumped. It felt like
Crazy
3 or
catch.
4 feet in the air. It was wild.
So a really, really dumb question here for somebody that's not
I'm
as
answering.
Can't wait for this.
yeah, somebody that's not as depth chart literate as you all might be.
I'm not.
But like you said, it lists 5 DBs, it lists 3 wide receiver positions. So is the depth chart to be read that the top wide receiver position is the wide receiver 1 position, and like
Yes.
the top DB position is the top D? Okay, so Marcus Wilson is our 5th defensive back, and Sadducee Kane's our 3rd behind Thieneman and Cam Allen.
I'd have to look at that picture.
That's what's confusing me because I see it as Sheffield's our wide receiver 1.
Do you have it? Do you have that you can send it to me?
Yes, I can send it to you.
Yeah, because like it should be 2 names because it's a 2 deep. So there should be 2 names on that, and the top one is the starter. The second one is the.
Well, I'm not saying I understand that part. I'm saying there's just 3 wide receiver positions listed, like with 2 names on each. But it doesn't list which one is like the wide receiver X or Y or Z or.
Yeah, I don't
who's the 1,
think
2,
that
3.
necessarily matters. I think the only one that's halfway determined amongst the wide receivers is that TJ Sheffield's in the slot.
Okay.
Well,
Gotcha.
and so according to our lads, who publishes depth charts, not sure how much merit to give this because there is some difference between what Purdue officially put out and what's on here. But this was just updated today. They actually have Mershawn Rice as wide receiver X, and they have Deion Burks as the 2nd wide receiver in the slot. Also, Dylan Thieneman's not on here at all. So
I'm gonna
really
take
sure.
the official one.
Yeah, when I started doing some of our breakdowns for some of our opponents, and I looked at our lads' depth charts, I quickly saw that there was guys on there that weren't listed on the team's rosters, and there was guys on the team's rosters that weren't listed on the depth chart. So,
Are you guys saying our lads?
Mhm.
Is that a group? Is that what we call our
Website.
Purdue football players now? Like up the
No,
lads.
You got people from the UK talking about American football.
Yeah,
How
this
you
is
gonna trust
football.
that? What?
There ain't no soccer around here.
It's
called
like
soccer.
starting at left wing for the Purdue Boilermakers, Cristiano Ronaldo. It's
Hey,
like,
listen,
what?
America has Messi now, so I think we're now the worldwide leader in soccer. So,
Hey, we landed on the moon. Use freedom units.
hey, you know where our banners are, Chris? Where are they at?
A moon.
Yeah, you let them know, buddy. They're on the
Nerds.
freaking moon.
But
Saved
there's
it.
also who is it? Is it Johnson that's going to be starting at center this year? I can't remember what his first name is. Daniel Johnson.
Austin Johnson.
Josh
Kaltenberger,
was
yeah.
starting.
Yeah.
Is there another?
center.
There's a Johnson lineman though, right? Offensive.
there's a
lineman?
couple of them.
Austin
Couple of
Johnson.
them. Daniel
yeah.
Johnson's also a backup left tackle. So,
Okay, that's what I
Well,
was
there's a
thinking.
few Johnsons. We know one of them.
Nerd.
The wink. The wink got me.
But yeah, how do we feel about starting a redshirt freshman at tight end? And I feel like when I think back over the last maybe 7 or 8 years, we've had experience and elite athleticism at the tight end position. Obviously, Garrett Miller's hurt, and it sounds like he'll be back, in the first half of the season. But we're starting someone at tight end who we've really never seen, and he's also starting over Paul Piferi,
Yeah,
which I
I was
also
surprised
thought was
about
really
that.
interesting as well. And maybe Paul Piferi is a better quarterback than he is a tight end.
to me, that just lowers my expectations for the production from that position. That I see that being an indicator that we're going to, play more 3 or 4 wide receiver sets. And when the tight ends are on there, they're going to be, mainly pass protection or blocking. But I could be wrong. That's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah. So what do you guys? I was watching the presser this past week, and it was really cool to see Walter's whole demeanor. It was very relaxed, which some people were upset about. Not in this group, but just the reporter was oddly obsessed with him not being all crazy. But he was just super relaxed, just hey, yeah, this is what we're doing. And they asked me do you have any burning questions about your team? Is there anything you want to know? You feel like you got to get on the field scene? He's like, no, I feel like I know my team very well. I feel like I know what I've got, and I'm excited to get out there. And that was cool because again, no shade at any like former coach or anything, but I don't feel like I've ever I don't remember that as a Purdue fan going into week 1 being like, yeah, no, I know what we've got. Like, it's all good to go. We've had our quarterback picked out since the time that Hudson Card committed. Like, there was never a question who's going to start a quarterback. And every year for the last, I don't know, you probably go back 10, 15 years now. It was like, oh, I don't know. And then like the week before it was, it'll be like the Wednesday before the game. It'd be like, all right, whoever's starting this week. And you could like see on the field that person probably didn't even know until that Wednesday. So it's just, I don't know. It's nice.
And I think last season, this past season was the first season under Braum where we had a solidified starting quarterback. And it seemed like every season it was like we didn't really know who our quarterback was until week 6, and
we didn't know anything.
Some seasons we were, rotating quarterbacks and having 3 quarterbacks in one game, and we're Blau and Sindelar, or some of us have called him Jared Sindelar.
Who could have? What an idiot! Who could have that been?
Heard.
I was like, wait, what? I forgot about that.
So just real quick, back on the tight end thing. I wonder if, being this air raid style offense, they're going with basically adding a 4th wide receiver from the tight end position. So Garrett Miller is 6'5", 250. Paul Pifferi is 6'5", 260. The freshman 6'4", 225. And
the
then
depth chart lists him at 245 too. So
does
he's
it really?
bulked up over the summer. Yeah.
Oh, this is from the Purdue football website. But I wonder if he's just got some speed or something that's going to burn up linebackers, or take a tight end off somebody that puts a linebacker on somebody, or put a DB on a linebacker, kind of like a Gronkowski kind of thought process.
Yeah.
He's too fast for linebackers, but too big for DBs. I don't know. Just a quick.
Isn't Garrett Miller the one with all the tattoos? The cool tattoos? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care what
tattoos, Chris.
Garrett Miller could literally do nothing else for the rest of his time at Purdue and beyond. I'm always going to remember that catch he had against Michigan State. God, that was an amazing catch. That was like, that could be number 1 on like if Purdue football had like a ESPN top 10, that would be one of the top plays. It'd be right up there with the Rondell Moore catch and run to the end zone where he looked like he was getting tackled and then kept going.
Still gets me hyped to this day.
Since Frank brought up Braum again too, I'll make one more comment, since he and I are both located down here in the Louisville area.
In the what?
It was kind of funny. The local sports radio is already frustrated with Braum and his ability to say a lot of words, not use the cliche phrases, but still manage to tell you nothing. So I know we've talked about in our group about, how Rondale Moore was week to week for like 8 weeks, and we ended up not seeing him.
6 out of the 8 weeks for COVID.
Yeah. So yeah, they're already frustrated down here about his ability to say a lot of words and really not give you anything.
Well, they all think birds have teeth. So, I mean,
touche.
Take it with the grain of salt.
Touche.
But yeah, what did you guys think of the presser? Because I was very thoroughly impressed. I'm excited. I don't know. It's just cool to have a coach that's just like, yeah, we're gonna go out there. Yeah, cool.
He's so
confident in like his team and his coaches. He's like, that's new too. Like being confident in your coordinators, or and I know that's new to him, and I'm sure he's probably gonna like have to catch himself trying not to call the defensive plays on Saturday. But that's new for me too, is having a coach that's confident in who he's got running the show with him.
His confidence makes you feel confident.
Yeah, are you referring to the last coach that had like 5 different defensive coordinators in 6 years?
Well, no, not even that. It's just like he called most of the plays. Like he didn't really, like his coordinators didn't really call the shots that much. He was still, at least from what I've heard, was still very in control of like the final say.
And that was a thing under Hazel too, because I remember I was fortunate enough to attend an event where Daryl Hazel spoke for quite a while.
Fortunate?
That was something that I was very fortunate to be able to attend that. And it was a very small, there's maybe 30 or 40 people there. And at the end, he opened it up for.
Are you sure this wasn't a game at Ross Hayde?
That was a good one. That was a good one.
That was tough.
Sorry, go ahead.
But at the end, he actually opened it up for some Q&A, and this was in his 4th season. This was like maybe 3 weeks before he unfortunately lost his job. But people were kind of grilling him pretty hard. Like, he's like, okay, who has a question? I have a question. Why can't we throw it for more than 10 yards? Why are we lining up so far off the ball?
Why can't we
It's
get
just
into the
like,
red zone? Why can't we win? Why is Ross saying at 12 people? Why
are you defending Coach Daryl Hazel right now?
See, Daryl Hazel is a good guy. He was a good dude. He was just really bad at his job. That's all it was. I mean,
he was
the
pretty easy to talk to.
The one takeaway that I took from that was that he was calling most of the plays effectively. I think that was still the John Shoop era. But I remember people asking, as one of the questions is who calls the plays? And he's like, well, that's kind of a split responsibility between the offensive coordinator and myself. And then the guy asked follow-up question was like, well, more often than not, who's calling the plays? And he was like, I am. And he even said when the offensive coordinator was calling the plays, he was often overriding the call as well.
That seems like it's a successful brand of stupid.
My question would have been, why do you wear your hat like that? Why do you wear a vest and a long sleeve shirt when it's 95 degrees out against Eastern
Because he's trying to be aggressive.
Someone actually did ask him that.
Like, it would
believe
be
it or not,
100
that was actually
he would
asked.
be
What did he say?
like this.
He just said it's what he's always done, and he's a creature of habit.
I mean, I'm a creature of habit as a kid, but boy, when it's hot out.
But that dude had to have had like OCD or something, because he was very meticulous without.
Well, yeah, he was military. He's from military family, right?
Yeah, military guy. Yeah, and that was the reason for the hat too. It was a military thing.
Is that how you guys wear the military dress?
Well, we don't really wear ball caps in the Marine Corps because we're the professional branch of the military.
By the way, I got an email for a sale on crayons. I'll forward it to you. So,
appreciate that. But no,
an email about a sale on crayons.
Like, I don't know.
Sign up for a list.
It's for the joke. It's for the joke, Damon. It's because he eats them too. But
I do. No, the blue ones are my favorite.
Our covers or our hats, they are worn. Basically, just sat on your head. Like, you don't pull it tight on your head like you would a ball cap.
See, it doesn't look comfortable.
That is,
like TI.
It is and it isn't. It's
like
annoying when it gets windy.
But granted, I got a big old melon, so I mean it's hard to find. Look, I mean this snapback
I do
right
too.
now, we're on like the last 2 snaps.
Yeah, my snapbacks are always like the last 2 buttons.
I was at a thrift store the other day, and there's a bunch of sick like '90s Bulls hats and all this stuff, and I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna buy all these." And like, none of these damn things fit. Like, this is not fun. My sister-in-law showed me because my brother and I were brothers. We look a lot alike. We have the same size head. Anyway,
really?
She was like, I got this hat stretcher for your brother. You should get it. And I ordered it on Amazon. The best thing ever. It's such a simple invention, and it's one of those things where you're like, I wish I would have thought about it. But I've had to stretch a few hats, and it's come in handy. Nice. Not a sponsor.
I didn't mean to get so far into a deep hole about former coaches and everything, talking about Coach Walters. But what do you guys think about the pressers? Anybody get to watch it, follow up on it at all?
Well, I think he's a very, like you said, a very confident guy, and he rides the line between confident and cocky, which I appreciate. Because I wouldn't call him cocky, but I'd say he's not far off either. But for him to get up there and say, "No, I know my team. I don't have any holes. I don't have any burning questions. We're good." I think that says a lot, and I think it's an interesting. Nick used the word dichotomy, so I'm going to go back to dichotomy. It's an interesting dichotomy between him and our previous coach, and that Braum was always critical about something, and maybe that's a good thing. And I guarantee there are some things that Walters is critical.
Is there an earthquake?
Something really bad just happened in Dylan's house. Let's hope everything's okay. But there are probably some things he's concerned about, but he's not going to voice that publicly. But I just think it's interesting that every time I hear the man talk, I just can't help but think about how different he is from our previous coach, personality wise. But yeah, I really like the fact that he's confident.
I had to take the jacket off. It's like 100 degrees in this room, and I was melting.
You wearing that dang bomber jacket that you paid way too much money for?
I'm sorry. That was worth every penny. Thank you to Homefield. They sent me free stuff. So
I will say the big thing I liked about that press conference is because all of the energy and positivity and confidence that he has is 100% getting thrown on those players. And those players are going to come out 100% confident and 100% ready to roll.
Frank?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of the player interviews, and whose energy, like I can I can just feed off of and really, really am like buying into
Jack
it.
Ansel.
Jack Ansel. Yeah.
Well, of course, Jack Ansel.
Friend of the pod.
I mean,
That's our
that's
guy.
a given. Friend of the pod.
Friend of the program.
Friend of the pod. But Nick Scorton, man, he's he is like the happiest. Like he is ready. And Russ, I know I cut you off. What were you? You're about to ask something. I believe.
Just before we got off the press conference too much, I was going to say, as a Steelers fan, does it seem like Coach Walters kind of went to the Mike Tomlin school of press conferences? Like,
I do see parallels between. Now I'm drawing all sorts of parallels between Mike Tomlin, especially early in his career, and Walters, because there was a lot of like, who is this guy from the players? And I know he came in. Walters doesn't have this scenario, but Mike Tomlin came in and was actually younger than some of his players, and he kind of had to earn their respect. And I do see the parallels, especially in the way that he talks and the way that he carries himself in his press conferences. Yeah, really, really good parallel there.
And I loved his response to what question was it? Oh, about the capacity, and he was like, they were like, do you know what the capacity is for Ross-Ade Stadium? And he was just like, no, I don't. If I asked,
I know we don't have an elevator in the South.
Apparently, that was a big deal. I missed that on Twitter, X, whatever.
I didn't know that. Was Greg Doyle the one that asked that question?
Somebody was like, "What is?" They wanted answers about like what the capacity is. And I'm like, it's more than it used to be. That's all you need to know.
So it's now more than the Birds with Teeth Stadium. Of course,
what's their football stadium called?
It's L&N Memorial Stadium, because it used to be Papa John's, but then they had to change it when that whole scandal
since the incident.
Yeah, since the incident. So,
but
yeah,
Papa
even
John went off the rails.
Even Kentucky, part of the SEC, where it's just different or whatever, right?
Means more.
Means more. Sorry,
Yeah.
but
Their
stadium
this week.
I know, right? But their stadium even holds less than Ross-Ade now. So, for what it's worth,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hopefully, no students.
Hey, there's our guy Nick.
There he is.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
Yeah, hopefully nobody needs an elevator for.
I wonder if Nick's watched
3 months.
the short clip that I posted on the podcast account from the last one, because that was so funny. I'm also like, especially since Chris was like about like his crap talking, I'm kind of scared a little bit. For anybody that doesn't know, we've got a fantasy football league going on in the BXP group.
Pro
I was going to say,
gonna win it all, baby.
Yeah, I'm really upset because I feel like I worked really hard on my picks, and of course I get matched up against Frank in the first week, and he's got me like he's like favored by like 10 or 13% to beat me. So,
do we have a trophy yet? Are we getting a trophy for that thing?
Man, I auto drafted a solid team.
You did.
Like I was showing a coworker today, and he's like, "You auto drafted this team?" Like I auto drafted.
I picked 3 quarterbacks. That's not great, in the grand scheme of things, not ideal, but we'll make it happen here.
I can confirm Nick is a wild degenerate, and he makes me look like a Catholic schoolgirl in comparison.
Impressive. That's impressive.
That's why I was like, let's start at a 6. We can adjust. But once you cross that line, hard to kind of rein that monster back in.
That was a good time, though. That was fun.
Speaking of crossing that line, and I know this is well, hold on. Does anybody else have anything to say about the presser?
Nope.
Anybody? No. So Nebraska, that football player, the transfer who was waiting on his like eligibility to play this year, got arrested for breaking and entering.
Hell of an arm. I mean,
he's got some legs on him too.
He could probably be a kicker too. Yeah,
he could kick the hell out of something. But
he went to punt, pass, and kick as a
donkey kick a football.
You could see how far it goes. Maybe it's a new style. We have Australian style. You have donkey kick style.
Maybe he's gonna throw the football like submarine style, like how they pitch in the MLB.
So is it safe to say he did not have an NIL deal with that storefront?
With a what was it? I can't think of the hookah.
It was like a hookah, like vape shop type place. Yeah.
I think I don't know what I've never used a hookah. Couldn't tell you what it really does, but it looks illegal. So
it's not.
Oh, it is.
That actually is not.
Oh, okay.
Well, it depends on what you put in it.
Oh, so you could make it illegal.
Yes. Same thing with pipes in stores and like head shops. The pipes in Indiana aren't illegal. It's only illegal when you start using it for a narcotic.
And there is our legal advice analyst.
Oh, there you go. You got a name upgrade.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
No.
Hey,
No.
There it is.
No.
there it is. Example.
Hey,
Well-
Rutgers is in the Big Ten now. They
This
weren't
can't
back
go on
then,
YouTube
but now
anymore.
we can.
Oh man, there goes our
Oh.
yikes. All right, Nick from the top rope.
Someone's got to read that for people who aren't watching.
Absolutely not.
Hey, you know
Nick
what?
Burris definitely added in that he hits harder than Ray Rice in an elevator.
Okay, Russ, go ahead. Yep.
All right. Well,
All of us were like, nope, not touching that.
Oh,
The 5
that
foot
was
pole.
cool being in with Big Banner. Fuck.
Yikes. All right.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, so
Remember how
Purdue
I said he
sports.
should be a 6?
Now we're up to like an 8 or a 9. This is
might want to make it back to like a 4 or a 3.
man, Nick.
Oh my
you-
god.
you
Oh.
had- remember his previous comment? He can be okay. Nick's views do not express the views of the Boiler Express podcast. Little asterisk there. Okay, love you, Nick. Love you. Nick says he'll show himself out. Stay here. Just Ray
So
Rice
what is
jokes-
the?
jokes,
So I
little
know
harsh.
that they announced this
degenerate.
week that, which by the way, Ross Aid Renovations, if you're listening, you messed with me a little bit because you posted all the pictures of like the game day stuff, and then you're like, and there's a new tradition coming. But it
Rowdy
was in the
statue.
pictures itself. So I was like, oh, is that like a hint to that they're getting rid of Shout? And I guess it wasn't. So that was really sad.
Dude, you
But they're doing
cannot,
like they're doing something where you like where people can just like watch them drive the train up to the station. Is that what it's called now?
we've seen that thing everywhere, anywhere. I got out of a taxi in downtown Chicago and that thing just whizzed by, honking the train horn, and they were in Northwestern. Why I didn't go to the game, I don't know.
Was that like the Big Ten? Oh, was that when they played North? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they were playing at Northwestern, and I went to
I gotcha.
CVS because I forgot allergy pills because I'm a real cool
Drove
guy.
all the way from Ohio to.
No,
Chicago?
I happened to be in Chicago. God,
Oh.
Damon, Jesus.
Sorry, I'm not a world traveler like you are.
Frankie
Or a
Frankie
word
Bourdain
user.
over there.
Yeah, well, see, I was thinking about
Look
the word
at a map.
Louisville. I was trying to say Louisville and Traveler at the same time, and just
Louisville.
Same amount of syllables actually. So it works
Yep.
out.
Well, something we talked about
Syllable.
earlier,
What?
and I think
I
we're
don't think it
gonna
does.
debut this for the first time tonight. A new segment
Oh,
called
throwing it out
dude.
there.
The graphics department is undefeated. Look
By the
at
way,
it
why
go.
is it white and red? Is
It'd be-
that?
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
no,
not
I
sure.
tried to
Graphics
no,
department.
No,
We'll
hey,
send an email
stop.
out later.
Boo.
I tried to
Boo.
make it the color of a football. So when you look at it, it's
Footballs are
less-
not red and white.
football. It's supposed to be like a brownish red. God,
Your shirt is the color of a football.
you're gonna be the color of a bruise.
So
if you
the
don't look
basis
at it.
for
I'm scared.
the basis for throwing it out there is going
On
to be,
my way, man.
just random. Going to be just random things, rants, positive things, negative things, and our own member Russ had something he wanted to throw
Yeah,
out
Russ
there
has
this
been
evening.
talking
Russ,
So
we're
about
here
this
for you,
heater
man.
he's
Whatever you
got.
got to
Let's
get off your
go.
chest.
Let
Yeah,
it rip.
so it was mentioned a little bit earlier with the Spartan Dog comment that Big Banter, hope some of y'all are listening, did a collaborative podcast, which I haven't actually listened to the whole podcast yet, but they got together, they tried to get together representative from every pod and go over like season previews, record predictions, even like end of season awards predictions, CFP predictions, that sort of thing. I don't know what's going on up there, Chris. You all right? You bracing
I'm
for the
trying not to
backlash?
associate myself with you.
Yeah, we're
Gotcha,
preparing ourselves.
Okay, so I really wish I was on there. I know Chris and I both especially expressed regret that we weren't able to make it on there because some of the takes and some of the hate, and it's not just within or not just in the Big Ten, but it's also within our fan base a little bit as well, that apparently we haven't washed off the Hazel stink. And maybe even like you go back to the Hope era where, we're used to when we change coaches, the program is going down, it's trending down. So I feel like there's this assumption that because we lost our head coach, we're taking a step backwards. And I don't quite understand that. You look at all the predictions that were submitted from those other podcasts and those other schools.
We've also lost a lot of players, though. I know we did bring players in, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there. So I think the best record that somebody picked us besides my prediction of 8-4 was like 6-6, but we had 3-9 out there, 4-8 out there, and it just, to me, it really does not make sense. Purdue finished, we finished 8-4 last year, did lose in the Big Ten championship game, then lost our coach days later, and then showed up to a sham of a bowl game with a skeleton crew and a skeleton coaching staff. And so,
which was aired on TV today.
Wonderful. Horror films are always good to, help you sleep at night. But, it was a tough end of the year. And yes, we did have 5 guys get drafted in the NFL. A lot of production was lost. But, one of the big things that Coach Walters made a priority was getting a quarterback, right? He was like, we're the cradle of quarterbacks. That was the big thing. Everybody was freaking out, right? We hired a defensive coach. Oh, we're going to play offense. He comes in and goes, don't worry, we're going to play offense, and we're going to play elite offense. And so he goes and gets the number one quarterback, the number one quarterback in the transfer portal. Don't associate Walters with him. That's not even.
You said elite. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when he kind of owns the word elite. So
okay, I won't use that word again. I apologize.
It's okay, Russ. I forgive you. Keep going. You're doing great.
So we bring in Hudson Card, who, like I said, top transfer quarterback. He transferred out of a position where Quinn Ewers, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's going to be a top 10. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft this year. Arch Manning's come in, who's one of the most heralded prospects coming out of high school in probably the last 30 years, it seems like. So it wasn't that he transferred out because he was a kind of a hack and didn't play in big games, whatever. He played in some big games, was a good producer in those games, good leader in those games. And so we're getting a guy that's still ranked as like a top 10, top 15 quarterback nationally coming into this year by a lot of independent polls out there. Okay, so we got that going for us. Okay, let's look at the running back room. Devin Mockabee, our leading rusher, come off a record-setting freshman year. Okay, Dylan Downing, our second leader rusher, is coming back. Tracy, who was our leading yards per carry guy last year, is coming back. Okay, TJ Sheffield, he was our third leading pass catcher. So yes, Payne Durham, Charlie Jones did provide a lot of the pass catching for us last year. Yes, but Sheffield showed moments. Deion Burke showed moments. Mershawn Rice, go ahead, Damon.
So another thing that I liked about the presser, and Walters even made this comment, and it was almost, I know it wasn't a slight probably in his mind at all, but he was almost like, last year they really focused in on like 1 or 2 guys. He's like, we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to spread the ball around. We're trying to get it out to everybody and anybody. If you're available, if you're open, if you're playing hard, you're going to get the ball. So that was something that I like to hear, and that we're going to, obviously we got to put what we're saying out on the field, but the idea that we're going to get away from one receiver having 13 catches for 130 yards a game, and then everybody else is like trailing in behind him. Yeah. So yeah, that's all. Sorry, that's all I was saying. Yeah.
No, you're good. So yeah, so that actually leads me to a point about the tight end room, right? We talked about Garrett Miller being a pro prospect, right? An NFL draft, maybe even like day 1, day 2 pick prospect. And Paul Pifferi, we've had, pretty high hopes for. We think he's a pretty solid producer. And neither one of those guys are right now listed as a top 2 in the depth chart. Now, Garrett Miller obviously is probably because he's being held out for a game or 2, and he should return to the top of that depth chart. But that means our tight end room is pretty solid, right? Our O-line has somewhat reloaded, but we wouldn't say our line was necessarily a big, strong point last year. What's up?
Stu! What's up, big dog?
I
love
the man, the myth, the legend.
Stu being
this
here
last weekend. Very excited.
What's going on, Stu?
So Stu must have known what I was about to talk about, which was defense. So let's talk about defense.
He knows a thing or two about.
Come on, Russ.
He knows a thing or two about defense. So that's where
Russ
maybe people are more nervous, is our defensive losses, right? Well, our defensive losses are not as bad as what we think they are, right? We returned 3 of our top 5 tacklers from last year, right? Do you guys know who those are off the top of your head?
Kane, probably one of them. Tacklers, Scorton and Jenkins.
I think so, yes. So, no, not Scorton. Sindor, I think. No. Brothers, OC Brothers.
Okay.
Gotcha. So
I can tell you who it's not.
Look at all those names we just named. We're like, hey, was it this guy? Was it this guy? Was this guy? We're returning way more talent than what we think. Okay, Cam Allen, he's tied for 9th. Let's go, Stu. I'm fired up.
Stu,
tonight.
Get on the podcast.
I'm fired up
Next
tonight.
episode, we're having Stu on. I love
this. This podcast hates the hate, especially hates the Purdue hate. So Cam Allen's 9th tied for 9th in interceptions in school history. Which, if he gets just 3 this year, he'll be second behind Who? Our boy Stu.
Stu.
Let's go, right?
Nice.
He needs like I think 8 to catch him, so that's not going to happen. Stu's got that. He's got that record. He's good. He's good. But so we're returning Cam Allen, a big interceptor of the ball. Okay, we're also returning our second and third leading sack getters from last year, right? In Sidnor and I just lost the name here. I'm on too big of a roll. Sidnor and Kydron Jenkins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sidnor had 4.5, Jenkins had 4. And we were 5th in the Big Ten last year in sacks. So, and we're adding all these transfers and some of these new faces that I think Frank's got some information on. But we're not losing all this talent. Like everybody acts like we're losing a ton of talent going into this year. We aren't. We've reloaded. We've got experience that was in the Big Ten championship last year. And everybody's acting like because we have all these new faces, the whole league has new faces. Especially the western half of the conference has new faces. So how did we get shuffled to the bottom when we have all these guys that played in the Big Ten championship game, plus Hudson Card, plus a record-setting running back in Maccabee? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I think 8-4 is a reasonable expectation. And if we're able to knock off Wisconsin at home, if we're able to go win at Iowa, and God forbid we give Michigan or Ohio State a game, then we're talking about a 9, 10, 11-win season. So I'm just saying it's out there for us to have a great season, not a 3-9, 4-8 season.
I think the big problem is just the schedule is so tough. I mean, we've got Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin. We haven't beat since Stu played. Like a bunch of that. I think that plays a lot into it.
Right. And my 8-4 prediction has us with those as being losses, losing Iowa, losing Wisconsin, losing Michigan, losing Ohio State. And that's still 8-4. So even if we drop every one of those games, like, so you're going to say Illinois is favored to beat us at home. Minnesota's favored to beat us at home. Nebraska with guys that are breaking into buildings is going to beat us at their place. I mean, I'm just throwing all this stuff out there. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not saying that. And yeah, I totally agree. I think the idea that Iowa is favored over us is laughable. Congratulations, you got the shoe away from Michigan as your quarterback. Nebraska is a dumpster fire already. I mean, Rule's been in there 45 seconds and has like
that Rule Aid, baby.
A Rule Aid. Wow.
Rule Aid.
Hold on, Chris. I don't want to interrupt you here. I want to address this comment here. Crazy that Illinois is expected to beat the Boilers. Is that a real thing?
Hey, shout out to Noodle.
Because if so, that is crazy.
Outside of our podcast, yes. That's what I was talking about. So like the Big Banter
in a
podcast,
crazy world.
What's going on?
Thank you, the Noodle, for that information. I'm not going to sleep tonight now.
I mean, they are bringing back a pretty stout defense. So,
well, but they also lost.
Yeah, they also lost
defense,
like 3 guys in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Yeah.
See, this is why I said I couldn't be on the Big Banner show on Saturday, because I don't know anything unless we're talking about Purdue football. I know nothing. I
barely know about Purdue.
So I was just trying to.
What else is going on?
I would have appreciated a little bit more support on that comment. But
and just to answer Nick Burris's question here, we have did we get a pretty solid nose tackle from Auburn as well? We did. We brought in Jeffrey Mba. I believe he's from France, if I'm not mistaken. He played 1 season at Auburn, didn't play a ton, only played 82 total snaps. But he definitely is a guy who can kind of grow and play in the system. Walters likes his defensive lineman pretty large, and he's 6'6", 315, so he fits the bill. And then we have another comment here that the Illinois over Purdue is per ESPN, which is extremely frightening.
Yeah, but that was it their FPI or SPF 30 or whatever. I don't know.
Football Power Index.
Like my thing is that like so many people, because we've went through such a purgatory within the program between Hope, Hazel, and on and off again with Brom, that people just expect us to kind of shit the bed.
Exactly. Agreed.
A bed.
And so we have a comment here from Stu. As you guys know, a lot of people not affiliated with Purdue football will never give us credit.
100%.
And Chris, that ties right in with what you were saying. It's like, what do they think the last 8 years
was actually like covered up, so I actually had no idea that that's what Stu said.
And then we have another comment here. Good history of French players at Purdue. Who can name the last fringe player.
I know one of the receivers that you liked. I think you drafted him, didn't you? In our draft, Frank?
Yeah,
I did
Anthony.
draft him.
It was Anthony Mahunga, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anthony
Yep.
Mahunga. Yeah.
I actually had
Solid
a
player.
Facebook memory pop
I'll
up
be back.
from 2017 where it was Brahms' first year and they won the Bucky game. I rushed the field and got a picture with him, so that was pretty cool, dude. And I remember the game he had against Arizona. Holy crap!
Oh,
yeah.
what a
Oh, yeah.
game! And then who was the other guy who just went off against Arizona? Gregory Phillips, right?
Yeah.
Gregory. I mean, that was his final game in a Purdue uniform, and he showed up for that one.
Yep.
But Russ, I think more about what you say, and so how many years do we have?
I
Bronze?
appreciate
6
that,
years,
Frank.
7
I
years?
appreciate that.
Yeah, my wheels are turning. But we had 6 years, 7 years with Brom, and what do you think? All that was just a fluke. I mean, all that we never had less than a 6-6 season. Made several bowl games. We just went to the Big Ten championship, and all that's just gone now. I mean, it's.
Well, I laid
it
out the
does
production
take-
that we returned from that as well. Like it's
Mhm. I mean, no, I'm saying like that thought process is the seems to be the prevailing thought process, and it doesn't make a ton of sense.
People are scared to people are scared to like be excited about, like there's always got to be that caution that like, oh, and like granted, I know that we've all, I mean, everybody's experienced it, that the game that got pulled out from under us and yada yada yada, but every team feels that though.
All right, we're gonna have a surprise guest.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
God, I'm so stoked. we may want to get rid of the graphics just because it's going to get crowded in here. I'm so stoked for this.
Are we having a surprise guest
during this
moment?
pause,
Yes.
the Ohio
it's not
podcast
Morgan
made a
Wallen.
comment, and I just want to call them out too. The Ohio pod also had us at 5-7, so I'm just saying.
Hey, hey, Eric.
I thought we were friends.
I thought we were buddies. I thought we were pals. I thought we ran banter together. I guess not. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna want to get
We
rid
have
of
a comment here. New football has to be trending up, even with all the changes.
1,000%.
Agreed.
That's the thing. I think that's the most frustrating thing is that like, and it was the same thing that we kind of talked about last year leading into it. People were like, "Oh, it's Purdue. They're gonna shit the bed." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, like that doesn't have to be the case. Like, you know what I mean? And like, all it takes is like Clemson for how many years didn't do donkey.
Oh,
Eric, we're gonna fight. Eric, we're no longer friends, buddy.
Hey, wait, did you guys play in the Big Ten championship last? Oh,
yeah, we're not. You're not invited to my birthday party, Eric.
Oh,
So for anyone who's not watching, we
From
just
the
got a
top rope,
comment.
Damon.
Isn't 5 wins actually good for you?
Hey, win at Ross Aid, and
Yeah, and then we'll talk.
we need Stu to get in here and just like
This was
Go
not
off
the
on
group to
one.
get
Come on,
riled up.
Stu. Let's go.
Yeah.
If you say his name 5 times,
Yeah,
he appears. Stu.
You got to say it in front of a mirror. And who was it? Was it? Because I remember being a kid going to football games with my grandpa, and there was always somebody, and I felt like it was at kickoff. They would kick the ball and go, "Stu." Was that for Stu Schweigert?
I'd imagine.
No, am I just like totally? I don't know what I'm talking about. Then who's
What
the FIFO?
does that even mean?
I have no idea.
Dylan doesn't know the young.
In
hipper?
accounting, that means first in, first
Yeah,
out.
that's what it means in the restaurant business too. Yeah.
Okay.
Not in the propane business.
Cool.
We
What's
don't
it mean in
speak
the
that
propane
lingo.
business?
It's empty.
Oh, the noodle. Pull up the noodles comment. Yes.
That's right. The real Miami.
The real
Let's
Miami.
go.
Dude,
Ohio.
Miami,
So the
Miami of
Noodle-
Ohio's
Noodle said
quarterback coming
On
out.
the Ohio University podcast, they have a pretty good team this year in the MAC. Yeah.
Ohio University's
Ouch.
quarterback coming out and being like, we're the Miami. I'm like, that can only go bad. That cannot be.
I don't
good.
know. Miami's not that great.
Listen, I like Miami of Ohio. I live 30 minutes away. Like, I've gone to a few football
Which
games.
town
It's
is
a
it
good
you
time.
live in this time?
What was that? Talking shit. All right.
No, is our guest coming on? What's up?
Working on it.
Okay, I got you.
Continue.
I got
We've got
you.
not like we'll have stuff to talk about.
We got plenty to talk about. We got plenty.
So what are
Tyler.
your guys'? I don't know if we actually. I think we laid it out a while back, but after my rant there, have I swayed any of you all?
I mean, Stu got me all fired up, and then
what's
you just
your
added to
record-
that fire? So
What is your record prediction then for this year?
Undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to like, I don't know. Like that's the thing is like I have no clue. It'd be different if this year we were bringing back, a lot of people and just the familiarity of it. But because I don't have that, I don't know. I would assume that Hudson Card and Devin Mockabee are going to tear the field up and put on a clinic against Fresno State and so on and so forth. But I just don't know. Yeah, 7-5 is a solid one. I think that's a safe one. But I have no clue. I mean,
I just
who's
don't want to
guest
go
is
back
here?
to a Cheez-It Bowl.
Our guest is here.
Okay, so
What?
So,
Stu,
what's
There he is.
up? Let's go.
So I'm trying to get it on my computer here. So I was like, the whole link, I copied it and was like going through and doing like the IL capital 9 or all this stuff or whatever. Because I'm on my phone. What would be the best way to do it so that I can use it on my computer here?
If you log, I DM'd you the link on Twitter. If you can log into Twitter on your computer, you should be able to click on it there and do that.
All right, let me do that. Then I'll come back in, guys.
All right, sounds good.
A bit, Stu.
Yep.
Nick Burris with some love
First
for
name basis now.
Stu with the goat emojis.
I'm gonna go up to him at a football game and be like, "What up, Stu?" And he's like, "Who the hell?
Who is this idiot?
Who is this guy?"
I did.
You guys,
he's like,
we
I
were
did
gonna
that
go to
charity
this
event
game.
one night and went on this podcast for these guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to this game
podcast
Saturday,
is a charity.
and we're gonna be walking up the tailgates thinking we own the place, and everybody's gonna look at us like we're idiots. Like,
We're gonna get a little too big for our britches, I think, is what y'all. Oh, and there
No.
goes Chris.
Like I'm expecting to like somebody. I'm not expecting somebody to come up to me and be like, "Oh, you guys are the guys from Boiler Express." If that happens, I'm expecting them to be like, "I fucking hate you guys." Like
I don't know. Last year
you
I
guys
walked
are
into
the
Ross
worst.
Aid and Chris screamed my name and it scared the everlasting shit out of me. He was like, it wasn't like, "Hey Dylan, die!" And I'm like, "Who the hell
challenge
is yelling
accepted.
my name?"
Challenge accepted, Dylan. You already know what's happening Saturday now. Then
Mhm.
I'm gonna top that.
Oh, we gotta
Yeah.
find out the logistics here because so I always like religiously park in Northwestern, even though they started charging for that parking garage now. I still park there every game. Where am I meeting you at?
H lot, homie.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm
H
not bougie.
Look
I
at
don't
a map.
park in lots and stuff.
When
I
you
have
see
to
all the
walk
big
to the
RVs,
stadium.
I don't have an RV. Those things are like as much as a Haas. But like it's where like
Haas?
a Haas. I was listening to the Pat McAfee show. That's that
As a
Pittsburgh
cash.
Yinzer accent.
So
I
you
don't know.
can
I
say
think it's
that,
on
but
a
you
map
can't say
somewhere.
Louisville.
It's in front of the stadium, if that helps. It's near the stadium.
Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna be near the stadium. We're gonna watch the football game at. Just so you know,
I'm
like,
gonna-
that's where.
Or hey, guess what? Too, our seats in the stadium. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Whoa,
Yeah.
insane!
I'm
insane.
surprised Purdue doesn't have like a Wrigley type thing where somebody's built seats on one of the dorms outside of the stadium.
So,
All right, I'm gonna look up
Frank, what do you say? What do you say about the record? What's your prediction? Like,
I'm gonna play it safe, even more safe than what some of our predictions have been already, and I just think 6-6 is realistic. I just think there are a lot of question marks. We have a new coach, new coordinators, many new faces. That it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to figure out who goes where and which scenario. I would love to see 7-5, 8-4.
Okay, I see where you're at now.
here's my question then. So I'll pose it this way then. Okay, so what did Minnesota do to pass us? Who did they bring in? How did they pass us?
They got some cool helmets, and everybody's like freaking out about Minnesota. Like that's seriously to me what it was. They got the black helmets. Everyone's like, "Oh, Minnesota!"
So like Iowa. How did Iowa pass us? Because they got McNamara. Cade McNamara is a better incoming transfer than Hudson Card, so they're passing him.
Well, I think. I mean,
their defense.
I think Iowa kind of has an inept offensive system.
Yeah, as
personally.
long as
Exactly.
Brian
So-
Ferentz is there, they're going to be going backwards.
They're always in the mix, though.
We are
They're always in the
saying
mix.
this though, and they did come to Ross Aid and mollywop us.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that
And-
their offense up until that point was so inept that I could have done better.
It
With a
did
Madden
take
playbook.
45-mile-an-hour winds for what's his name to have an accurate passing.
And
game.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Spencer
you know,
Peaches. Yeah, the
Mordecai from a non-Power 5 conference is going to come in and tear up the Big Ten and tear us up.
I really think this is the year that we do beat Wisconsin. I think a lot of what happens this
Wait,
season.
Pause. Go back. So you said 6-6, but we're going to beat Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So
correct.
So what's
Yes.
going to happen?
Yeah.
What
But
I
are-
think
who-
happens is we're going to beat someone we shouldn't, and we're going to lose to somebody we shouldn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of the season hinges on what happens in the first 3 weeks,
Mhm.
because I see 3-0 and 0-3 as equal possibilities here. Virginia Tech being like probably the most winnable game.
Okay, let's see if Chris is actually going to be more optimistic than me. He's always the optimist in the pod. So, record prediction.
I've said for the longest time. So I was worried about Fresno State just because they won 10 games last year. They did really well, but looking at them, they've lost a lot. They lost their quarterback, top wide receiver, top running back. I mean, they're bringing back a skeleton crew compared to what they had before. That said, the floor 6-6. The ceilings
Is the
9-3.
And what do you see those 3 being?
The 3 being
There
so
it
the-
is.
Let's go.
so my big question mark games are Ohio State, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
Right.
Fascinating. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome here
the man,
someone who needs
the myth, the legend.
Hey, thanks,
Schweiger.
guys. I appreciate you letting me come on. I've been getting into my YouTube channel and doing some of these things, but I do a lot of stuff with the Raiders, and I want to do some more stuff with Purdue because I don't really know if there's really too much of a I guess how many content creators are there for Purdue football besides you guys?
Seems like
Yeah, so I would say that like the top tier there is Boiled Sports. They've been doing it since like 2006, I think. They've been doing it for a while.
1974.
Tornado went through. They started a podcast.
There's the Boiler Breakdown and Big Time. I mean, there's like a good handful of us for sure.
How often do they go on and actually go on and make live content?
Boyle does every week during football and basketball.
Starting
during
now,
the off
they do
season,
every
they don't.
week.
But yeah, during the
I
heat
would
of
almost say that consistently it's been us and Boiled every week, wouldn't you say?
I
Yeah,
would say
because
that.
from like now until the end of basketball season, we'll probably be here every week. So
Cool. No. This is awesome, man. I'd love to. I'd love to come on more and talk Purdue football.
You are welcome anytime, Stu.
I
The
will
door is
say
always
this.
open for you.
Hey, I will say this though, guys. Okay, I am a little fucking. Oh, sorry. I am a little upset that there's no 9 jersey anywhere in the background, man.
Well, send me one, Stu. We'll make it happen. I'll find one. Stu, I'll have my people call
We'll what? I actually I went to the signing or the I guess Chris, what would you call that?
Thank you,
Would
Noodle.
Call it the
Rail
weekend.
Splitters signing event or whatever.
Yeah, like I guess memorabilia or whatever.
Yeah.
And some of my guys, they actually they sent me an app where you can get jerseys made up, and they actually made really nice stitched jerseys. So actually, I am gonna get some jerseys made up. So, but enough about me. So the thing that I'm talking about this season is if we don't have the toughest schedule, it's top 3 in the country, right? I mean, Fresno State's no joke. Then you talk about going to Blacksburg, Virginia to play Virginia Tech. I mean, that place is as far as I remember when I was going through there, and a lot of guys that I played with from Virginia Tech, that's a tough place to play. Then you come home and play with Syracuse, which, we should have won last season. And then, like you guys said, Wisconsin on that Friday night, and we haven't beaten them since my senior year, up there in Madison. And they've had our number. And for what it is they just physically just beat us. You know what I mean? Year after year, they get a running back who ends up rushing for like 300-400 yards, and our guys look like, like a JV team playing against varsity. And so I'd like to see us get past that. And then again, you talk about Ohio State. Thank God we were playing Ohio State here at home because they struggle here. Ohio State traditionally struggles here, but going up to Michigan, I mean, everything I'm hearing, with me being from Michigan, Michigan is probably the number 1 team in the country along with Georgia. I mean, they have talent all over the place. So going up there and winning is going to be very, very difficult. Illinois, I mean, obviously we got their defensive coordinator, but they're a very talented team. So they're going to want to win that game. who knows what Northwestern's going through, how they're going to come out. Going to Iowa.
Illinois game's a night game at home.
Is it?
So
Well, it's homecoming.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
And actually, I was actually talking with so I had the honor of going out to Buffalo, Wyoming, and I was an honorary pallbearer at Joe Tiller's funeral when I went out there. I got a chance to speak at his funeral, and afterwards, he had all his family there, and we went back to his house, and I met his brothers and his cousins and nieces and nephews, and two of his nephews, one Ron Tiller, and I think the other one was Brian Tiller. He had a really nice downstairs with a bunch of memorabilia and everything like that, and I think we tried to drink his liquor bar dry down there for that thing. But I was talking to Ron, and they're coming up. 40 members of Tiller's family will be coming up for that Illinois game because that's the game that they're going to. I don't know what they're doing, if you call it a ribbon cutting or
like a dedication.
For the Tiller Tunnel.
Awesome.
But it's weird. I don't know if they're doing it. They're doing it like during the day. I don't know if they're actually doing something during the game. I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that's going to be a tough game. But then you talk about going into Iowa. I mean, that we've been lucky. Obviously last year. Did we win last year to Iowa? Did we win?
No, lost.
We lost, right?
Yeah, that was Wisconsin, Iowa.
We won like the last 4 or 5 contests, so we kind of had their number, and it might be the tides might be turning. So that's going to be a tough game. And then we have Minnesota, correct? Right?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
They've kind of owned us a little bit here. So I mean, and then Indiana. I mean, obviously, whenever you play Indiana, you never know what's going to happen. They have talent, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough schedule. But that's what you want, right? I mean, it helps with recruiting. The stadium looks beautiful from what I've seen. But you want to play the best teams in the country, right? I want Ohio State. I mean, we always had Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame on our schedule. They're always on there, and I was upset when they took Notre Dame off. That's a trophy game with the Shillelagh, and but yeah, I mean, so I may head up there for that Michigan game, but it's going to be a tough run, guys. I mean, you said, have you guys made predictions of the season so far, or what?
So we always, I don't know. We don't really we don't like to talk I guess final score predictions and stuff like that. But we have talked about
I don't either.
How we have talked about records wise, and we were kind of talking about that before you hopped in here. A lot of us are kind of going with that conservative. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of us. A couple of us are going with the conservative 6-6, 7-5. Russ is amped up. He's going for 8-4, 9-3.
Oh yeah, Russ. Yeah, baby.
So.
Let's go.
My whole thing is
at Nebraska too. I mean, who knows what their situation is? You know what I mean? Right. I mean, that's a Lincoln is a. When I was finishing my pro career with the Omaha Nighthawks, I thought coming from Michigan, I'm like, oh, I know crazy football, Michigan State, and all that stuff. Dude, out in Nebraska, it is completely different, man. Those guys, that whole state, it's very serious to them. So they've been itching to get that program back and running. So,
they're beating down the door to get back in the game.
What's that?
So they're beating down the door to get back in the competition.
Absolutely. And unfortunately for Scott Frost, things didn't work out for him. But yeah, I mean, I guess as far as this season goes, what have you guys heard, or what's getting you guys excited, or what's, I'll tell you one thing. A guy that, well, let me kind of go back a little bit. 2 weeks ago, I went out to Vegas because they do a alumni reunion for the Raiders, and we go out for a preseason game. So obviously, I knew I had heard, because Rob Ryan was my defensive coordinator. He's now a defensive line specialist out there, a coach. Buddy Ryan's son, Rex Ryan's twin brother. He said, we're gonna draft your boy. We want Aiden O'Connell. So when they drafted him, I did about an hour and a half YouTube stream or whatever, talking about Aiden O'Connell. And so far, everything I said about it, he's making me look really, really good, because he's just
he's tearing it up,
kicking butt, And I'll tell you this, majority of my career was with the Raiders, so I know the nation very well, and I've never in the 20 years that I've been associated with the Raiders or the nation ever seen it to where the nation is actually in agreement, like on one dude. Like,
Yeah.
There's always going to be,
outliers and stuff.
Yeah, but the guy, he finished with the 3 games finishing with 70%. I mean, that was his big thing, is the completion percentage. I think 4 passing touchdowns, part of 6 touchdown drives.
No turnovers.
And 0 turnovers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Payne Durham is a very close friend of mine. He's doing well in Tampa. Unfortunately, Corey Trice suffered a knee injury, I think, again. Yeah. Marcus Bailey, another guy that's getting a lot of burn there in Cincinnati, along with Charlie Jones. The defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, he was with us for 10 years as a defensive back coach here at Purdue. He's a close friend of mine. So the guys are doing well, but the point of me saying that was actually, what was the point of me saying that? We were talking about, what were we talking about before?
We were talking about predictions and stuff.
Yeah.
So
just the state of the program.
While you're thinking about that, I have a quick question for you. As an alumni, as somebody who played on the team, and seems like you're pretty connected with a lot of people from the program, past, and present. What is kind of the feel about Coach Walters and this coaching staff? Are you guys amped up? Are you excited? Like, what's the feel?
So, I guess let me go back a little bit. Obviously, I have the utmost, respect for Joe Tiller, and his staff, and Brock Spack, who recruited me out of Michigan. I mean, you got to think of this, guys. Here I am in the state of Michigan. Michigan offered me a scholarship my sophomore year of high school. And I was it's kind of funny. I actually have
I love all
this. Is awesome. This is the best podcast we've ever done.
This is old school. Remember back Tom Lemming and like Super Prep? You actually had to go buy the publications, right?
Yeah.
So this was my senior year in Super Prep. I was the 34th ranked high school player in the country, and I was an athlete. So I because I played quarterback and safety. So I was considered an athlete, and I was actually the number 2 athlete in the whole entire country coming out of Michigan. So you got to think about this. Here's Brock Spack, obviously, because when you're a program, when it comes to recruiting, you got to see and go, is it worth it to spend this money on this kid? Can we really get this guy, right? You know what I mean? There's a lot of money that goes into it. And here I am. Michigan had just won a national championship, in 97 with Lloyd Carr. They gave me offered me a scholarship. Then 45. So Ann Arbor is about an hour from me where I grew up. East Lansing's 45 minutes. You had Nick Saban as the head coach. And when I went on my visits, I went to Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Purdue, and Michigan State. But I did visits, non-official visits. And typically the head coach is always with the offense. That's just what it is. You're kind of your head coach is a defensive coordinator, right? But I go to Michigan State, and I'm not only is Nick Saban like on the defensive side of the ball, but he's specifically even with the defensive backs. Because before I went to Michigan State, he was the defensive back coach at Cleveland Browns for 4 years. So I was like Nick Saban's guy. Like I remember it was Nick Saban football camp, and I actually still have all pictures from these things. I'll have to show you guys sometime. But it was Nick Saban's football camp, and we went down. It was a 1-day camp, and we showed up about 9 a.m. And Nick Saban was sitting there in a golf cart waiting for my dad. And, I went to the camp, and Nick Saban, the entire camp, took my dad and gave him a private tour of Michigan State, the facilities. They went back to his house, had some beers and stuff like that. And not only was Nick Saban the head coach, but then the defensive back coach was Mark D'Antonio. So it's like, dude, so you got to look at the balls on Spack and Tiller. Again, Nick Saban and Mark D'Antonio. You have Lloyd Carr. I'm one of the top recruits in the country. They had no business even coming up to Saginaw, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
The only thing I knew about Purdue was Glenn Robinson, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And the first, coming out of Michigan, I mean, I watched football, but I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, I cheered for the Lions. Michigan State thing wasn't, I didn't really watch college football that much. My two older brothers did. And I think my first memory of Purdue was during Christmas break when I was in high school. And I remember going over my buddy Mark Betcher's. It was Mark Betcher, who was an offensive lineman of mine and a close friend of mine. His girlfriend's brother had a trailer, and I remember us going over there because he had a case of 40s, 40s. And it was the Kansas State Purdue game was on, and I just remember, I'm like, Purdue, what the hell? I just remember that was my first memory of Purdue. But yeah, so you got to think about it, So Brock Spack comes up there, and they just did a great job of recruiting me, and it was pretty much Joe Tiller, Brock Spack, and Jim Chaney were kind of the guys that recruited me. Kevin Sumlin did as well because I didn't know if I wanted to be a receiver. So, like for instance, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Indiana, Syracuse. They kind of ran the option. So they recruited me as a quarterback. I was an option quarterback coming out of high school, along with being a safety. Some schools were receiver, some schools were safety. And it was, depending on, what they thought. And I went down to Purdue, and they had a game plan for me. I remember going in the Mullenkoff. It was me and my dad. And, that was where they had these big Zenith like box TV, have the room or whatever, and they had a VHS tape and it was me and my dad, and it was Joe Tiller, Kevin Sumlin, Brock Spack, Jim Chaney,
it's a hell of a room.
Yeah, Greg Olson,
Wow.
Greg Emanuel, So I mean, in Austin they had 5 plays on offense, 5 plays on defense, and 5 plays on special teams. And they said, this is what we see you doing here at Purdue. And it seems so simple, but me and my dad just sat there and were like, wow, I can actually see myself doing that, right? They had a real game plan for me. And I remember it was funny because when word got out that Purdue had done this, then all of a sudden all these other schools are trying to do it too. And I'm like, well, you didn't come up with it, right? Like you didn't come up with this idea. But, coaches get one home visit per athlete they give a scholarship to. And I remember Joe Tiller and Brock Spack came up to Saginaw, Michigan. And I have a picture of me and Brock and Joe Tiller in my living room. But, Brock's talking to my mom about engineering because I thought I wanted to be an engineer, until I actually got here and realized how hard it is to be an engineer, But there go, he's Brock Spack sitting over there, and, Brock, I talk to him every week, I love the guy. He's a football coach, right? And he's over there trying to like impress my mom with academics and stuff. I can tell he doesn't want to be over there. And I'm sitting there, and Joe Tiller's he's just sitting there, and he's just staring at me like this, and I'm like, he's just staring at me, and I'm like, Coach, what's up, man? And he goes, geez, you got a big nose. I said, what? He goes, you know what, Stu? I don't know if we have a helmet that'll fit that big nose of yours. And I go,
oh my God.
This guy, again, in the backyard of Nick Saban, D'Antonio, Michigan, who just won a national championship, and I'm like, that's your recruiting line? I'm like, dude, I'm going to Purdue, man. So
you gotta appreciate a guy that talks shit. I love it.
Oh, dude, it was just that, and that was just, each school had its own feel. And when I stepped out, Vinny Sutherland was my host. I remember I had a basketball game that night because it was during basketball season, and they had there was a small little airport in the Midland Bay City, Saginaw Airport, and they had like one of their little private planes or whatever pick me up. And I remember landing, and Vinny Sutherland had his it's like a 1994 like almost like purple probe, and it had like Sutherland on the back, and he's just sitting there with a case of beer and like chicken wings or whatever.
Oh
and
my God.
I got off the plane.
The pre-NIL days right there.
Yeah. And just right away, just the feel of Purdue. But I actually have my older brother kept a lot of my stuff, so I have all the handwritten letters that multiple universities were writing me when Joe Tiller offered me a scholarship. And I actually have some really cool memorabilia. When Joe Tiller passed away, he was had a lot of memorabilia, and they had an auction, and whatever you bought went to the is it NFF, I think, Chiller chapter or whatever.
Yeah, National Football Foundation.
Yeah. So I have like some really cool items, like his game bag that he would put the game plan in, and like a jacket. Well, here I'll show. I think you guys will appreciate it.
Yes. This is the best episode ever. God, kick me off the podcast and hire Stu full time. I don't even care. This is the best.
And this is just a couple things, but I had every bowl game he would get a hat, and I actually have every hat from every bowl game that we went to that were Joe Tiller's. But here,
awesome.
So you see him right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is the actual jacket here.
That is incredible.
That he wore.
Wow.
And if you can see, which is really cool. Let's see if you can see this here. Wait, hold on.
There we go.
Am I touching something, or is that you?
No, that's us.
No, yeah, it's us. Trying to give you more of the screens to show
But
the
if you
stuff.
look here, it's got
Oh man.
JT. Yep.
Joe Tiller's initials. But here is his actual. And I remember him walking through.
Wow.
Like, I have videos from the Rose Bowl and stuff, and I was watching him with Ashante Woodyard yesterday, and he's walking through the locker room carrying this bag right here. So
wow. Stu, I gotta come over sometime.
The whole point of me, I guess, bringing that up was, again, I take my relationship with Joe and SPAC and those guys very, very serious, because if it wasn't for them, recruiting me, that's where I met my wife. My wife was an All-American hurdler here at Purdue. We've been together 23 years, married 18. We have 4 amazing children, and we've lived all over the country, and we chose to raise our family here, which it was the best decision we ever made in our lives. But again, without Joe Tiller having going, yeah, let's go up there and let's go recruit that kid. Because again, like I said, if you looked at it, you'd be like, well, we're wasting our time. Like that there's just no way we're going to be able to pull him out of there. And they did it. And it was great. And I was inducted to the Purdue, not football, but Purdue Sports Hall of Fame this past, let's see, in 2022, class of 2022, but the banquet was in February. Mm-hmm. And part of my speech was talking about, how with Tiller recruiting me and bringing me back, or recruiting me and having me come here. Again, like I said, I wouldn't have my family. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now. So I wish he was still here. He was a great man. I mean, obviously, as you can see, pre-97, post 2010. I mean, it's a very noticeable difference in record, in NFL prospects and all that type of stuff. So we're getting back there. It's taken a while. Brock Spack should have been the heir apparent rather. And Danny Hope was on staff when he was an offensive line coach for 2 years when, I was here playing. And I love Danny Hope, but I would have liked to see Spack get that. And the thing is Joe Tiller was very good. He was a great recruiter. Right. I mean, and when I say he was a great recruiter, Purdue can't, this university, there's great players, but they're not great players for here. Right. It takes a special eye to find a guy, one that can compete in the Big Ten. Right. But also compete academically. At Purdue, which it's very stringent. And then 3, be able to gel and live in this community, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
It's
And
a little bit.
and Tiller, one thing that was great about Tiller was he made the promise to parents. He said, if your son comes here, I'll promise you that we will do everything we possibly can to make sure they get their degree. And I think our graduation rate of the football team was always like 94, 95%.
That's incredible.
Yeah, well above the general general student population. And he was very serious about that, and there's a lot of universities, it's 8%, 9%, or guys major in eligibility. Those coaches don't give a rat. And, every time I spoke with him after I was gone, never once when we would call was he talking about football, was how's the family, he would get razzled up about how much these coaches make nowadays. That was always kind of a thing. I just can't believe these coaches.
It sounds a lot like Tiller was a lot like Katie. He was more worried about building the man than he was the football player.
Yeah, and it's such a unique era because those two guys, like they're like made for Purdue. I mean, they almost looked like the mascots of they were like perfect. You know what I mean? And the problem was, and I love Morgan Burt, God rest his soul. He wouldn't give Tiller money to keep his staff around. And again, you look at the staff that he had. I mean, how many head coaches and how many offensive coordinators and NFL guys came from that staff alone? But he gets these guys around him, and he couldn't keep them. And that was a huge thing for him, and it hurt him. And I love what Babinski's doing. I think he's done a phenomenal job with all of the sports at Purdue. Let alone, I mean, he is a football fan, guys. That guy he's at the games, and he has done. He's opened up the pocketbooks, and obviously, you guys know. I mean, the bloodline of any football program or any athletic program is the recruits. And how do you get the recruits? Well, you get the recruits by the facilities. How do you build these $52 million facilities? Well, you get donations, and a big part of those donations should come from guys that played here that went on to the NFL to have success. And about this is probably 7 years ago when they were building the football building, I donated a substantial amount to have the Stuart Schweigert family defensive back meeting room.
Awesome
in there. That's awesome. which was really cool to have. But again, I thought it set precedence that I stepped up and was to leave my legacy, but that's what it takes, and Babinski's done a great job of really revamping this place in all sports. So all right, there you go. I'm done talking. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
That was incredible.
That was incredible
right
now.
I have sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
No, I just the Tiller jacket. Like I'm a memorabilia guy. I gotta come over.
Well, actually, where are you guys located? Are you guys local?
No, Ohio.
I'm about 4 hours south. I'm Evansville, Indiana.
Okay. How about you, Russ?
Frank and I are both in the Louisville area. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where in Ohio?
Dayton.
Okay.
So Stu, so you were with the Saginaw Sting and the CIFL.
We came down and played the Dayton Sharks.
I worked for the Dayton Sharks.
Did you really?
Yeah, I worked in the front office for the Dayton Sharks.
Yeah, we went down. Tommy Jones, man.
Yeah,
Tommy
Jones, man.
Yeah, who actually I played against in 2002 when Indiana came up here. He was the starting quarterback for Indiana.
Tommy and I would talk. Yeah, Tommy Gunn, baby.
Tommy Gunn. Yeah,
Tommy Gunn was the
Tommy
man.
Gunn. Yeah. We went up there.
I looked that up about you a few months ago, and I was like, I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yep. I was the owner. Owned it for 4 years. We went to 3 championships.
You beat our butts.
2 of them. Well, when we went up there to Dayton, though, you guys hammered us, and then you guys came back up to Saginaw in the championship game, and we ended up winning in the last second.
Your arena is way better than ours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hera was a dump. She was our dump, but it was a dump.
I mean, trust me, it was better than some places I've been to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I was actually bought the league that we played in, the Continental Indoor Football League. I was the commissioner of it. So I was in charge of 10 teams in 6 states. It was a complete nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
I bet.
I
Listen, the operation the Sharks had was weird. That's the best way I can put it.
What happens is you get these guys that come in and they want to run it like a fantasy football.
Yeah.
Right. They don't realize how much money goes into, and that was the thing for me. I wanted to make it as professional as I could, because it is professional. You're paying these guys; they're professionals.
Oh yeah.
So we would go out and we would raise through businesses, through sponsorships, upwhere around $650,000 to $750,000, so I could buy the best equipment. So that when players came up here, we had housing, we had per diem, we had meal plans, we had workout facilities. I mean, we had good practice facilities, and then that way we got the best players. So it was fun. But the Dayton Sharks, Tommy Gunn, Tommy Jones,
and you guys, we were always jealous of your gear. We were always jealous of your uniforms. My last year, the owner, I won't say his name, had us duct tape.
I actually designed your uniforms, because I had an apparel company as well.
Look at us, dude. We're best friends now.
That was a thing I always liked. I like when NCAA came out and you could do like high school. I'd sit there for 4 or 5 hours, like making my high school team and going through the roster, and it was a way for me to shut my mind off and just zone out for a while. So I actually designed those uniforms and I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't someone try to sue you guys because there was another team that had something similar with the Sharks or something?
Yeah, we had a hockey team in the same arena, and they were going to be called the Dayton Devils, but they had to change it to Demons because the New Jersey Devils were going to have their ass.
There you go.
And so they had to change that real quick. But yeah, I love that parallel, man. I have a lot of memories from that. I spent
arena football was a lot of fun. It was the kind of the best parts of football, right? Because the field's so small. I mean, you're just getting touchdown after touchdown, but also it allows the fans to get close to the players and actually, feel the hits and hear the hits and see the speed. Because at a college stadium, you're so far back, at a pro stadium, you're watching the guys on the Jumbotron, and then, we come out, we're under the stadium, we have pads on, you don't really get a chance to see us. You know what I'm saying? So indoor football was really cool because it was the fan interaction. And I remember the big thing was, if the ball goes in the stands, you keep it.
Yeah.
I remember the first game,
which cost you a lot of money, but it was fun.
So we told the guys, throw the balls out, right? I think after the first game, we went through like 80 balls, and they're like $35 a piece. So I said, guys, listen, okay,
never mind.
Let's just save them for touchdowns, not like a 2-yard game. All right, you know what I mean? So,
I still have a CIFL ball somewhere. I'll have to find that. Oh, of course you got one.
Of course he does.
I hope he has a red, white, and blue one. That
was
that
the
one
commish.
was my favorite.
Here was our.
Oh, there you go.
The stuff that I came up with. Stanley Stinger, we called him. But no, here you go. I know exactly what you're looking for. Hold on.
This is awesome. This is
the best.
Let's
my
go.
God.
Frank's gonna have so much editing to do.
Is it Saturday yet?
That's it. The red, white, and blue ball. That's it.
Oh my!
I have that one somewhere. Now I gotta find it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
here you go. So these are the championship rings that I bought.
Oh man!
Damn.
12, and then this one was in. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, you guys won a couple.
2011.
You kind of ran the league,
Erie was good. Remember Erie?
Yeah, I remember Erie. Yeah.
Well, remember the Northern Kentucky River Monsters.
Jared Lorenzen, Stu.
Yeah.
Jared, I was so mad the week before Jared Lorenzen was supposed to play us in Dayton. He dives for a touchdown and breaks his leg.
Breaks his leg.
Because I wanted to meet the guy.
Yep.
Rest in peace. He was a legend.
He'd walk up and he was head and shoulders bigger and not only taller than his offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I tell you what, he could throw that thing, dude.
Especially in arena ball, man.
Sling it.
So, Stu, I do have one question for you. With you being a former player and everything, and again, you being so well connected, what is the player consensus on shout and Does it need to be removed? And if so, what is the thing that we remove it with?
Well, have you guys been to Wisconsin? Have you watched the game in Wisconsin and Madison?
Yeah, Frank and Chris actually went last year.
So obviously, I mean, on the field, you can like the stadium moves, like it literally moves when that jump comes out, and it's such a cool. That's why I love college football. The bands and the cheerleaders and the traditions and all that stuff. Especially for us, like Purdue, we have such a unique mascot that no other university has, and we're finally starting to utilize that a little bit more. We're putting the train tracks around the field, and with the new renovations at Ross Ade, where now the student section is by the jumbotron, and it looks like the grill of a train, and so they're utilizing some of that stuff. So, would you ask me?
I asked you about like the end of the third quarter. Somebody gets on the mic.
Shout! All right,
shout. What do the players think about it? What do you think about
it? I was actually honored. I came back, I think, in 2012 when I think it was the last time Notre Dame played here. I did the shout.
I was at that game. I remember.
It's
shout.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what do you replace it with? I would have no idea.
Got a couple comments here in the comment section. The Noodles said "Immigrant Song" by Zeppelin, and then Nick Burr said "Train Train" by Blackfoot. There's a couple options there.
I think it should be intimidating. I don't think it should be fun.
I guess I'd have to hear those songs. I'm sure I probably do know them. I guess. I don't know, right? I mean,
right.
Like, the whole jump around thing kind of was. It is what it is, and I guess it's kind of hard to emulate that.
I suggested last year on a podcast. I suggested "Thunder" by AC/DC, and I got reamed because apparently Nebraska does that, and I didn't know that, and I should have known that beforehand.
Well, I remember. In Oakland, we'd come out to what was it? Hell's Bells, I think it was.
Oh yeah,
and like a dung, would come out. But what was really cool was in my senior year in 2003. So we, from my freshman and sophomore year, we had Champion, right? Was our apparel. Yeah. Our gloves and cleats were Nike. So when we switched over to when the Champion contract was done and we went to Nike, and I love Arnett Tiller very much. I talk to her to this day. But she was the one behind taking out black and giving us the light gold jerseys with white numbers and white pants. And you look and you're going, we are like one of a handful of universities where black is actually like one of the
color that we use.
Yeah. And you take it out when every other university that doesn't, they put black in it, right? Mm-hmm. And the thought process was that on TV, when people are wearing black, you can't tell how many people are there, which I doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways, right? So we have the gold jerseys, and senior year, so they made a switch. They made, instead of having gold with the white numbers, our senior year they had gold with black.
I own one of those jerseys. Fun fact.
And those are whenever I see those, like the 9 with like the gold, and I'm like, that's not Dorian Bryant. Those are Stuart Schweigert 9 jerseys out there. But our senior year, we come in 16th or 17th, and then what always sucked is I think our junior and senior year, the first game of the season was our bye week, and that was that's the dump, because all that is just another week of two-a-days, and then now you're playing a team week 2 that it's your first game, but they've already played, and that's a huge advantage, right? So we that senior year, right? I think 16th or 17th. I think maybe one of the highest ranks coming into preseason. Really, that team should have won a national championship. And we played Bowling Green, and the week prior, Josh Harris, who was a great quarterback that went on to play for the Baltimore Ravens, their offense threw for like 650 yards, and again, with the coaches having a bye week, it just gave them extra time to overthink things. And it was the only game ever that I'll give Brock Spack crap about. He overcoached it instead of just letting us come out there and play. We had a call for every formation, and then all of a sudden, before you knew it, they're in the game, and then they throw that pass at the end. But and you guys know who their coach was, right? For Bowling Green, Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer, yeah.
Urban Meyer was and kind of catapulted him to get to where he ended up getting to. But I remember, so we played in those gold jerseys, and then we go down to Wake Forest the next week. We dropped out of the top 25. Wake Forest was ranked 21st in the country. Good team. And we beat Wake Forest. I started the game off with an interception and ended the game with on a 4th and 1 tackling the running back in the backfield. And actually that running back was Chris Barkley, who ended up being our running back. Yeah, our running backs coach here. And actually a close friend of mine was the guy who I tackled. But we came back to play Arizona. And Arizona, they had a good running back. I think his name was Farmer or whatever. And anytime you can play the Big Ten and Pac-12 was always a big deal. I mean, it's not so much anymore, right? But it used to be. And
the Pac-12 is turning into the Big Ten now. So
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, pretty much there's going to be 2 conferences, and it's going to be just like the NFC and AFC, and players with the NIL is becoming free agents. You know what I mean? The bigger markets that can pay the kid. Kid has a great freshman year at a smaller school. Big school is going to come and take him away. But no, so we have the gold jerseys, we lose, we go to Wake Forest, we win, we come back, and we go out for I think we went out for a stretch or something. We come back in the locker room and our black we thought the black jerseys were gone. Well, all of a sudden the black jerseys are hanging up in the locker room, and we came out the back in black. And I think we won 59-10 or something like that. We just beat the crap out of them.
Oh, I love it.
So your main question is should they take it away? If they did, what could they replace it with? I mean, I think pretty much it's not too corny, right? It's not like it's some YMCA or who let the dogs out or something like that. You know what I mean? So I mean. I guess it brings people together, and I guess it's all right. I mean, what do you guys think?
Damon hates it.
Yeah, I hate it. I especially I hate it because you talk about it's the end of the 3rd quarter. You want something to bring you back into the game, especially if it's not a good game, and then all of a sudden somebody just comes through that window up in the section up in Ross Angeles, all right, guys, let's get ready to shout. And it's just
that would be cool to have someone that would get you pretty hyped up. Because I know for us, when we were playing, I played Wisconsin twice in my career. Both of them were in Madison, and we won both of them. But when that would come on, it was pumping us up too.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting pumped up for it.
Yeah. So I don't know what song could replace it, but.
Is Crazy Train widely used for things? Because what if the guy that they honored or the athlete they honored yelled "all aboard," for the Crazy Train, and then they played.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
I remember it was Tiller and Katie in the press box for shout, and I think we were playing Marshall, and it was a bloodbath. Purdue was killing them, and Coach Tiller says, I bet you guys didn't know you were coming to a track meet. And it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
Actually, I filmed mine, and I remember when I went up to the girl, I don't know who she was, but she's like, and we have Stuart Schroer.
Oh, come on.
No.
Worcestershire.
Put some respect on the name.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I went up there because Tom Schott was our SID director, and he's no longer there anymore, but he was in charge, very close friend of mine. And no, sorry, Chris Clopton was working for the John Purdue Club at the time. Chris Clopton was a corner that I played with, a great guy. And I said, Clopton, what the, but even the crowd was they're like, what the heck is this girl? Yeah, I'm like, who is this? Who's
some
this
homework,
girl
lady.
got here? Yeah. All you have to say is just say Stu. You don't even have to say.
You're so good and you're so well known. All you got to say is Stu, and people are like,
it's Madonna.
Well, no, one of you were talking when I was trying to sign in, and
there was a chant. Somebody would be, the whole crowd would be like, Stu. So and I thought, as a kid, I thought people were booing you.
Well, after tackles or plays or my junior year, I would return kicks a little bit. So they'd say back there to return. And then they say, Stu, and I remember my little sister, she's like, why are they booing them? Why are they booing them or whatever? But yeah, it was, you can even now. So my brother, one of my brothers, older brother, when TiVo first came out, he got TiVo and he recorded like the games on VHS. And a couple of years ago, he sent them to me. So what I've been doing is I've been taking the VHS and converting them to DVD.
Nice.
And then taking the DVD and uploading into Final Cut Pro, editing them, and then putting on my YouTube channel. But when I watch those, you can hear the fans and stuff, and they've actually done some interviews and stuff during the games of my Stu's Crew sections. I actually have two different Stu Crew shirts, and yeah, man, it was a very, very, very special time for me and my family, and
that's the era that made me fall in love with Purdue football. That was when I started.
If you bring back the Stu Crew shirts, I'll buy 5.
So here's what I said. I said, man, can I get reparations for this NIL, man? Can I get some,
you would have made a killings too.
But honestly, so get this. So the university, right? Those shirts weren't like university licensed. They were like, so the university actually banned them from selling those shirts because at one point they were selling more of those than like the regular Purdue shirts.
Yeah.
So I remember like people, like my family was like, Stu, can I get one of those shirts? And I'm like, I don't really know how to get one. And someone said like, you have to go to one of the university bookstores, ask for this person, and then they take you like downstairs, and then they go over here.
Amazing.
It was like this whole like
knock on the door 3 times.
Yeah, because the university, they're like, dude, we're not making money on that, and you're actually those are outselling the shirts that we need to make money off of. Yeah, so I always thought that was kind of funny.
You bring those shirts back, I'll buy one. Shoot,
I got a couple of them.
That's so
awesome.
Good.
Well, so any other questions, guys? Like I said, I just kind of popped in, man. So
I'm a young gun. I'm only 27, so I don't want to make you feel too old. But like you were
that, don't you?
My guy growing up was Stu. Like that was. I've been going to games since I was a wee lad, and I remember.
So that would be. Oh God! So how old were you in 2000?
Oh, like
you were 3, right?
No, I was born in 96. So let's do quick
4.
math.
4.
How about the rest? How about the rest of you guys?
I was born in 93, so I would have been 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in 89, so I literally grew up going to football games late 90s through the 2000s.
How about you, Tank?
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in 88, so same.
Here you go. Here's something kind of cool.
Every time. I love it.
Keeps getting better. I love it.
Next week, we're going to have an episode, and it's just going to be Stu showing his memorabilia.
Oh.
You guys are all, I mean, obviously you guys live all over the place. I told Chris, you guys are all welcome, dude. So I'm a stay-at-home dad of 4. About 3.5 years ago, I was awarded total and permanent disability through the NFL. So I've been involved in the NFL concussion lawsuit. I had a workers' comp claim in California, and I've seen over 40, 50 doctors in 10 different cities and states around the country. And I come to find out I probably had 50 to 60 concussions while I played in the NFL.
Wow. Good gravy.
So I am, the last 10 years, there have been some tough spots, but I'm in a really good routine now where I don't leave the house too much. I don't being out in public. I mean, Chris, as you know, as a law enforcement officer, it's especially a middle-aged white male. It can be frustrating, and I don't have the filter anymore. I'll tell people what I think, and with me being a little bit bigger and a loud voice, sometimes that gets people nervous, and so this social media here is great because it allows me to be social from the privacy and safety of my own.
Stu, you are now an official member of the Boiler Express podcast.
So this ball here, I have quite a few of them up here, but this was in the NFL here. This one,
awesome.
Can you guys read that?
Game ball, Stu Schweiger.
Brett Favre, let's go.
Oh, nice.
I picked off Brett Favre in Lambeau Field, so that was a really cool one.
Nice.
picked off Jake Plummer in Mile High, picked off Michael Vick at Atlanta.
Nice.
But you got to actually keep the actual ball, right?
Oh, nice.
In college, you don't, because it's the other team. It's the other team's ball,
True.
right? So
in college, if you celebrate your interception while you're running to the end zone, you get yelled at for that.
Oh yeah, like Jalen
Graham.
Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't believe that. That was
so
such
bad.
trash.
And we all knew it was coming too, because as soon as he did it, our group chat was blowing up. Like,
blowing up.
no.
Stop.
I thought the same thing.
I
just thought they're just gonna, at the very worst, we're gonna have to move back our extra point. I didn't think they could take the whole touchdown back.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
God forbid the kids have fun.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So anyway, when I broke the all-time interception record, so I had 5 my freshman year. That Rose Bowl year, I led the team in tackles and interceptions as a true freshman, 19 years old. And then my sophomore year, again, led the team in tackles and interceptions. So I had 5 and then 6. The original record was 11, held by Rod Woodson.
Oh, wow.
And I tied that my sophomore year at the Michigan State game in 2001 when we won. So my junior year playing Western Michigan, when I broke the record, that's when I broke the record. Well, I would come back to reunions during spring games, and one of the equipment managers, they come back too. He threw me a ball. I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Dude, that's the ball." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That's the ball that you broke the record with." So this is actually, so you see Western Michigan.
Wow.
So this was the actual ball that was thrown when I broke it. You would think maybe Purdue might want to put this somewhere, but I guess not. I guess I'm not that important for
Let's
them.
rally up the troops on Twitter and make that happen.
Yeah. So
There you go.
But yeah, dude, I got a ton of memorabilia, gloves and cleats, and I have all the gold and black illustrateds and the exponents and all of the media guides, and I have balls from the Rose Bowl year, and I actually have. If you guys check out my YouTube channel, I have a lot of home videos up there, but I have when I recorded like the Rose Bowl trip with my own camera and one of the Sun Bowls and one of the Capital One Bowls. And It's really funny behind the scenes, like us at dinners and at practice and getting hammered in our hotel room and stuff. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Gold.
And I've been uploading that stuff. So the Illinois game, I do know Sean Phillips will be back for it.
Nice.
He's doing something for the alumni. But one thing that's been really cool is I've really connected with and become really close friends with Rod Woodson. Very
nice.
close friends with Chris Dishman. Me and Mike Allstott are
he's coming to town this weekend.
Yeah, he is. Yep, he's the honorary captain. Me and him had the same agent. So, and my rookie year, we played against each other, and it was on Sunday Night Football. And I remember the play because we were playing cover 2, and the corner took like an over route, and in zone, you let that go. But we went with them. I'm like, okay, whatever. And they threw like a swing pass out of the backfield to Mike Allstott, and it's just me and him in about like 20 yards, and he's going down the sidelines, and I just come up. And at the last minute, I just chopped the crap out of Ryan. He flips and I'm like, ooh, okay. Well, then later that year, I went to the Super Bowl. You go to the Super Bowl for events and stuff like that, and he's like, where the hell is that Schweiger at? Or whatever, where is he at? And he comes up, he pulls up his pants, and there's a huge like just divot in like his shins from where I hit him.
Oh man!
He goes, dude, I thought. Because we were like staring at each other. He's like, I thought you were going to hit me up high. I'm like, are you crazy, dude? Like, what, on the sideline as a rookie? Are you stupid? I'm not going to be on your highlight film. So last second, just bam, I just chopped him down. So, but Mike Allstott, I've connected with Jim Everett. He's a great guy. Kevin Sumlin has been coming back. Kyle Orton. Last season, they had Dorian Bryant come back for the first time.
He was one of my favorite receivers.
Oh yeah,
back in the day.
so fast.
I reconnected with him, which was really, really cool, and met his family. And met his partner, and trying to think of who else. But it's been really cool to talk to these Purdue guys and kind of connect with them and just get their opinion on stuff, how they feel, how they're treated with the alumni, how the coaching staff is, how they, operate and things like that. So it's been cool. And then, I mentor some of the guys on the team. One guy I was going to tell you that I really love, a guy who I've liked since when I was doing the radio show, would do my little 1.5-minute evaluation of the recruits we just signed. I've liked him, but is Sanusi Kane.
Yep.
Yes.
He
hits hard, man.
He does, and he's a great kid. Actually called, I go to these guys and here's my number and come over and you want to watch film or whatever. And rarely, these guys, they got it all figured out, right? These kids, they know everything already. And I'm just thinking,
that's right.
if I was at Purdue and Rod Woodson were to come back and live on campus, give me his number and tell me I could come over and call him anytime, I would be over there asking him what to eat for breakfast and what shoes to wear. And, I mean, I would be asking him everything,
Have a
right?
restraining order. He'd be like, listen, this is too much.
Yeah. I mean, so Sanusi Kane, actually, the one day he called me and it was really, really cool for me as a mentor, not only as a, a football guy down to a younger football player, but alumni and we watched some film but he's a guy that I think is going to have a really big year. I don't know much about the quarterback. I mean, obviously I know he's good. I mean, I've heard nothing but great things about the guy. You talked about Garrett Miller. Is it Garrett Miller?
Yeah, Garrett Miller. Tight end.
Yeah. He's a guy that I mentor. Is he healthy? He's been struggling to get back health-wise. Do you know?
I think that the last thing I'd seen from Dienhart was, or Dienhart, I always screwed up. Is that it was always in the plan for him and Gus Hartwig to not start game one or not play game one. Yeah, that was part of the rehab process. Okay, allegedly.
What did Hartwig do?
Everything.
Broke both of his hands, and he played with broken hands last year and a bum knee. So the guy is
through like half the season.
That's great.
So he's like Landon Feichner. Didn't Landon Feichner play with two broken wrists or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, thinking of Landon Feichner, white safety, but the the third brother, Dylan
Thieneman.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of good stuff about him.
I see him as like when they had like the commercial running out with the coach, and he's already pegged as a starter as a true freshman, 6'1", 206, and I've heard nothing but great things about him. He looks like he could be a pretty good player for us.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, the corners.
Do you feel threatened at all that Cam Allen's going to have like a big interception year, and even
I think it's 9. I think he needs 9. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I saw that Russ said 8, and you were quick to be like, yeah, I think it's 9.
I think it is. I'm not positive.
According to the sources.
Because he's at 10, and he's at 10.
Okay, so he'd need 8. He would need 8 to beat me. Obviously, records are made to be broken, but I like having that record, man. I mean,
I think you're safe because I just think this defense is going to be. It's going to be a bunch of guys stepping up when they're called on and not just one guy dominating.
Well, I just remember last year, 2 years ago, I remember he was getting like these tips and like end of the play. I'm like, oh, great job, Cam. And I'm like, oh,
don't get Frank started. Don't get Frank started.
Well, here's the thing that he doesn't need to be worried about that record. He needs to worry about making tackles. The end of last season, boy, I'm going.
You're speaking
French. Now I'm going to say it. Yeah. I've been saying this all off season, but since you say, I'm going to say I agree with you. Yeah,
it was bad. It was, and then the bowl game. I mean, there were a couple of times where he just got. I'm like, oh, dude, like you can't put that on film, man. You know what I mean? Like it was some of those I'm like, where are you going? So really, and I love Cam. I've been a fan of Cam when I watched his film out in Virginia, when he was all-state quarterback in DB. I said, this kid's going to be a playmaker. I said, I just can see it. I just know. So I've always been a huge fan of him. I love his father. But I'm looking at some of these games. I'm sitting here thinking, I think probably my whole career, I maybe missed 6 tackles. You know what I mean? And he's missing them time after time, and it's pretty big times. Or not only getting scored on because of missing a tackle, but just out of bad position or just whatever. So really, with Sanusi Kane, he's got that sewed up, and with this Thieneman, I mean, if
our outside our outside linebackers are pretty nasty too. Nick Scorton, Kydron Jenkins. I'm pretty stoked to see how they do this year.
Now is what's his name? Wahlberg, is he gone or is he?
Yeah, he transferred to was it Western Michigan?
Oh, he did? When did that happen?
I think it was
a while ago.
Yeah, I thought it was a couple weeks after the season when it was after the bowl game.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. That bowl game was just a complete, absolute embarrassment.
Yeah, I wish it wouldn't have happened.
I went on and did a podcast of just what bowl games used to mean and just how important they were. And for the alumni and families, I mean, they plan their vacations and spend a lot to go down there.
Did that. Yeah. Frank actually did that. Yeah.
Yeah. And for these guys just to, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, dude, you have a chance to play on not January 1st, it would be January 2nd, but a New Year's Eve bowl game against LSU. Like, dude,
right.
What the hell? You know what I'm saying? And then, the guys, the seniors don't play or whatever, but yet they play in these all-star games, which I didn't like at all. And then I'm watching those games and I'm just going, guys, man, that's terrible for recruiting. That's embarrassing for the entire university, anyone associated with the university, the community. And as I was finally kind of getting over that, then let's go and be the number 1 seed that gets beat by the 16th seed.
Oh no! Hey, we've got a couple months before we have to start talking about basketball.
I'm like, dude, I remember because me and my wife, we usually during the day we're doing so much stuff, so we will watch the games later, right? Mm-hmm. And we had just sat down to start watching, but it was already probably an hour and a half into the game, and her phone's going off, and I'm going, dude, people don't text me when they win. I'm like, I'm going, we're that team that is the one that gets beat by the 16th seed after winning the Big Ten tournament plus the Big Ten championship, and then I see these guys walking around campus making $500,000-$600,000, and I'm like, I should just go up and slap the crap out of you, man. You know what I mean? Like,
what was even worse was like, was that like the week leading up to the game, the coach from Fairleigh Dickinson was like, "Yeah, we know how to beat them. We have the game plan."
I remember before the game, God, they were talking to him, and I'm like, I'm talking crap about the guy because he's like, "Oh yeah, we can do it." I'm like, dude, no way. And I'm looking at with their tallest player, I think was 6'5" or something like that.
Yeah.
But you look, Rutgers has owned us the last 3 years. And then we go and lose to Northwestern and twice to Indiana. It's like, and Painter's a close friend of mine. I talk with him. I know his family and Elliot Bloom, but for some reason, I don't know what it is, but we just can't. I mean, you think about the year before with having IVN freaking, what's his name? The big tall kid.
Trevion.
I tell you what, here's something I can't stand. Stop showing his mom. I don't care about his mom. She doesn't have anything to do with the program.
Stu, did you know he played hockey?
No.
So he's actually from a town. My wife's Canadian, and she's from Ontario, around the Toronto area, where she's from the area where he was. Yeah, so he was a baseball player and a hockey player. Yeah. But I'm like, dude, and like the fans, like, I'm like, she does nothing. She does nothing for the program. All right. She got whatever by the dad and had a kid. That's her thing into it.
Well, it was
show her.
I will say for one thing, for her credit, it is cool that she apparently like has the whole team over and like cooks meals for him and like takes care of him and stuff like that. So like, it's not like
the team mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut the cord, man. Come on.
He said, "That's a no from me, man."
I mean, the guy again. I mean, I my wife loves basketball. I love basketball. Anything to do with Purdue, but just him like having pictures of him like hanging out with his mom. It's like, dude, man, like I said, man, you gotta come on, buddy.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Well,
I get it. Like, whatever, but I have the same opinion when they show the girlfriends of a football player. It's like, you know what? That TV time that you're using to show someone who is insignificant to anything that's going on right now could be used on showing a kid that's on the team and talking about him and highlighting him and talking about his successes rather than, for instance, a guy makes a tackle and the announcers don't even tell the guy's name, whoever made the tackle. They're over here talking about this guy's girlfriend. And it's like,
right.
Yeah.
It's like, it just, that's one of my pet peeves. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we have gone. Normally, you usually cut it off around an hour. Oh no! We have absolutely loved having you on.
I can talk all night.
We can chat after this, but I'm going to wrap up the show real quick. We'll go off the air, but we can still hang out here and talk. Okay. But just want to say big shout out again to our network at Big Banner Sports. Check them out on Twitter, everywhere. We're going to be putting a lot of content out there soon. Big shout out to our sponsors, Cincy Blitz Boards, Purdue-owned business that is great for any kind of family event, tailgate, whatever it is. And, of course, a huge shout out for Stuart Schweigert hopping on the show tonight. What an awesome surprise that was.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolute great time. And thank you so much. And, guys, we're so excited. We're playing football this Saturday in a packed Ross-Ade Stadium, 61,000 plus people there. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see, the tunnel, everything, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be a great time. Thank you to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Boiler up.